Back to Thai Roaster's Garage. We're just going to sit here for a second, let the stream load up, and make sure everything's good before we go live here with Clyde Do Something. Pretty excited for this one. Been wanting to chat with Clyde for a long time. I watch his channel daily. I find him very informative. So anyone in the chat right now, there's 36 people. Some of you could let me know it's clear how the audio sounds. So anyone in the chat right now, there's 36 people. Some of you, oops, I'm just opening on my YouTube channel. But yeah, let me know in the, I got my chat open here. We're working through Restream today, so I haven't done Restream since last time I had someone on here, which is either Sam Field or I had Dave from Live from the Shed on here. So yeah, let's just wait till someone comments here, confirm the stream looks good, and then we'll get right into this. It's good. Okay, we have confirmation. It looks good. That's awesome to hear. I'm going to turn my phone off because it is just obnoxiously, we're playing the same alarm 10 times in a row today. But yeah, I don't have the chat. It's not loading in Restream, but it's loading over here on another window I have on YouTube. But yeah, Macy is so stoked for me and Clyde. Me too. Dicker with Dave. 5 out of 5, totally good. Love you too, Sandy. Good, awesome. Thanks for coming out tonight, guys. This is going to be a good one. Wanting to chat with Clyde for a long time now. Watched him all for the convoy and ever since, and watch him daily. So yeah, excited for this. Chat overlay. What am I doing wrong here? All right, let's bring Clyde in, folks.
What's happening, everybody? So I'm trying to share this out so everybody can join in. Rush day. I'm busy. I'm a busy guy. I'm busy all the time. All kinds of stuff is happening all the time. But thanks for having me, man. This has been a long time coming, and it's long overdue. And well, here I am just scrambling to get all the final things going before we do this. How are things, man?
Good.
How are things?
Good. Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. Like I said, I've been watching you since the convoy, and then ever since, and I watch you daily. So when I'm working on a car, so I see you're pumping out 2-3 videos a day some days, and I'm just like, okay, we got some content to sit down and work on the car and listen to Clyde in the background of the stereo. So appreciate that.
I thought it was a little refreshing, like talking on the internet to somebody about cars before we started the stream. We're actually talking about like car stuff. I don't get that a lot anymore. It used to be an everyday thing, but now it's news. Now it's news all the time. For people that don't know, I'm an auto mechanic by trade. That's what I do for a living, and I found myself in this precarious position of bringing the news to people on the internet because, well, as I saw it, our media won't do it. So they quit, I guess. They just gave up on their job. They said, hey, the Fifth Estate is dead and we're not going to do that anymore. And I said, no, it's very much alive. People are thirsty for it. So here we go. That's been my life since about February. I was totally inspired by what my fellow Canadians, my fellow Canuckers were doing. Like yourself, my man. This is how I know who you are. Yeah. I was following your videos and all the people that were ripping your content and putting it on the internet under their own names.
Yeah, I should have had watermarks, but all I cared about, even though I stayed in a positive light when people were stealing my content, not crediting me, I was working hard for it. But the thing was, I was just happy to see the amount of views it was getting and inspiring people, and that's all I cared about, really. Mm-hmm. And like, for example, Dave Rubin had a clip of mine on his show. It was We're Not Going to Take It Anymore, Twisted Sister at it with the semis and everything and all the people on the road. And, God, on his channel, it got, I think, almost 1 million views or something, that video. And he didn't know who to credit it to. And he said that. He's like, I think it's from this guy. I don't know, but it was from another guy who reposted it who didn't credit me. But just the fact that it got eyes on it on that level, and all my other videos did, and people were just like taking clips and putting it in the news and stuff. I'm like, sweet. That's what we need.
Nice.
We just need people to see what's going on.
Well, there wasn't a lot of people out there that was doing like drone footage and like actual, like you put videos together. Like what you're doing is like actual content. It wasn't just guy in front of a camera like me, or you know, people live streaming, because that's what a lot of it was. But you were putting together narratives, putting together stories, putting together a lot of stuff that I found myself not sharing because you put a lot of music to that was copywritten, and I knew I'd get dinged for it. But
That was another thing, yeah, the music. Been monetized for the longest time there.
but no, it was professional stuff, and it was really cool to catch
Thank
that.
you.
You know, like to see, like a lot of people were excited, and a lot of people came out of the woodwork with their own talents, and you definitely brought one to the table, a really important one.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was yeah, at the beginning I did the video edits, and I was kind of like vlogging style and storytelling, and then as I got into it, I realized like I could only produce so much of that footage until it was like, okay, now it's time to focus on live streaming and walking around and showing everyone what's going on. Then, you know, it all led up like daily live streams, afternoon, evening, and it was the first time I ever live streamed in my life, but I just kept going and going. And then sure enough, the last live stream, I labeled it the final stand, and it actually was. It was the day that they kind of shut down Wellington, and they dragged me out for sure with like 6 cops. They were on top of me and they hogtied me, and that was my last real live stream in the front lines.
It's a claim to fame, hey, getting beat up at the convoy.
Yeah, that was fun.
Insane. Did you get hurt bad, or?
No. I mean, I was a little sore in the old knees there, and I think the arm was a bit sore there for a couple days, but I was good after that. I mean, I seen people like, I had it lucky. Like I just got the one guy,
Yeah.
they pulled me in. One guy had his knee on my neck. The other guy had his knee on my side. And they're just like, had me pinned down. Like I wasn't even resisting. And then they hogtied me. 2 other cops processed me. But I watched
footage. Holy cow. There's footage of guys getting like knees from both sides from these RCMP that were there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that. It was excessive. And nobody came saying the old police brutality, you know, all the stuff that they were preaching the summer before when there was protests for other reasons. But they're definitely cheering it on online. The usual Twitter types. I don't know if they're real people. Like, most of them are just bots. It's insane.
There are a lot of bots, man. Everyone's a bot to the liberals, but you know, on our side, we say anyone's a bot, God forbid. But I mean, there's a lot of that.
See, so I chalk it up between like them being half of them being bots. Like a lot of them will just be like incoherent sentences, and every once in a while you'll catch someone who, like, a bot wouldn't get that wrong. Like a bot wouldn't get some geography wrong or something. You're like, oh no, you're not a bot. You're just a stupid person. Oh shucks.
Well, it's like when you go to someone's profile on Twitter and it says like pro Trudeau supporter, I don't support the war in Ukraine and all these things. And they have like all these virtue signaling emojis and stuff. Then their profile is just loaded with propaganda. It's like, you are a bot. And then you come on my post and you're like, Trudeau's a good guy. It's like, that doesn't make sense. It's just
how did you come to that conclusion?
Yeah, no one's that crazy.
Right. Yeah, no, it's crazy. But yeah, that police brutality stuff that was happening on Wellington and during the convoy at the end there, just media blackout, absolute media blackout. And even some of my videos got age gated and didn't really get to see the light of day. Once you get age gated, like, people aren't viewing your videos. That's the end of it.
What's that all about?
So age gating is when YouTube steps in and says, oh, this is for an adult audience only. So 18 plus. Like, you have to be logged in and verify that you're above 18 years old to view the video. But they just don't show it to anybody. They just don't. You have to search it at that point. Like, you have to search specifically for the video or get an external link. Like, so, I mean, as a YouTuber, that's the last thing you want. You want your stuff to be as algorithmically friendly as possible. This is why I don't even swear in my videos. Like, I keep my language clean. I try to abide by all the rules.
So I started beeping out all the swears and everything in my videos. And then it's still not child friendly because it's still getting beeped out, but it's still like foul. But I feel like even that is probably hurting me, that I'm not, I'm having a hard time growing here.
So it's this weird thing because it's an automated system. So maybe if they're hearing the beeps, they just assume that that's a swear because your videos have been known to have swears. So Maybe just instead of beeping it, find like another noise. This is what other YouTubers do. So they
Like a
instead of
Canadian
using the
honking.
yeah, like
Oh.
use a goose honking or something.
Yeah, that's a good
But
idea, actually.
but it takes a bit. It'll take a bit for the algorithm to trust you again, because that's what happened to me. So I got after my first video got age gated, then for a few weeks, almost everything I had to challenge. I had to challenge everything for the demonetization thing.
Where can you see
And
where they're age-gated? Where can you see that?
uh, they'll inform you. They'll inform you that it's only, like, it'll be a demonetization, but then it's an added thing. Like, we've age gated this. We've made it so it's not available to just everybody.
Oh, I'm trying to figure out how to get the chat to pop up here on Restream for me, because I can bounce to YouTube. I see everyone's beautiful comments here, but all the support and stuff. But I have to bounce back and forth, and I want everyone to know that I'm reading them. But I just I can't see them in Restream, which is really annoying. And usually I
Oh,
can.
bummer.
Yeah, chat overlay.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the chat in the restream. But I got the chat open. I'm looking at all these beautiful people out here talking in the chat. I see John Argent. I see Laura Blair. I see Marcy Dunbar. Hoover's Corgs and Coin. We got lots of names in here.
Corgs and Coin.
Am I reading this wrong? I'm dyslexic, by the way. It's so funny. So many Canadians tune into me for the news, and I'm a dyslexic guy.
Really?
Dyslexic mechanic from British Columbia. Welcome to the dyslexic news.
Hoover's, Corgis, and Coin. Sweet. Oh, that's funny.
I'm seeing a lot of familiar names though in the chat. It's good to see. It's good to see.
Yeah, if you look at like who audiences view, they view you and they view me, the similar channels, right? Rebel News.
Yeah.
Good old pal Dave live from the shed there.
Yeah, he kind of retired. Did he retire, or is he? I got in touch with him the other day because I was like, man, I was thinking about you. Like, how you doing?
Yeah, I was
And
chatting with
he's
him
like,
recently.
yeah, he's just like, I went back to work.
That's what he told me.
I'm not a social media guy.
Yeah, he told me that as well. And I kind of did the same thing. Like, I'm still kind of dipping in here and there and like covering the odd thing, or like showing people they can cross the border and stuff like that. But because like me before, like you were, I was a complete car channel and like a travel channel. So now it's like I'm trying to go back to car stuff and like creating my vlogs and all that, but I also still want to be in this community, and I still want to talk about things and have conversations and give people another perspective in a sense. So, but I get Dave, because he wants to get back to work, and God, he was putting out a video a day too. And, it's a lot of work, live streaming, organizing the live streams all the time. Like, wow.
That's hard. The organizing of live streams. I get why that would burn you out for sure.
He was doing a lot. Like, he was live streaming like every day or every other day.
Yeah. That's a hard one, because he was organizing with other people to get them on to chat with them, and like, especially in the freedom movement, it's like herding cats, right? Yeah, a bunch of free-spirited individuals who just want to do their own thing, trying to get them all to come together in the same place. That's tricky.
Man, that's totally what it is. A lot of free-spirited, critical, independent thinkers.
Yeah.
People, and yeah, I've never seen like, I've gone to a lot of like hippie parties, bush duffs, things like that around British Columbia, and I'll tell you that unity that I experienced there, I felt that in Ottawa, and I felt like everyone's kind of got that kind of at their core. People who were participating anyways, It just kind of was like really grassroots feeling, right?
Well, because everybody had a common thing that they were fighting against. The thing that I like about the freedom movement is the diversity of ideas and personalities and all that. It does create for a lot of infighting and stuff like that, but it does make a lot of sense, like, it's more interesting than other groups. I found, because like there's more of a diversity of thought. Like, there's more people with different ideas all over the place. Like, there's liberal people, there's NDP people, there's like of all the, even like not political party affiliated, but like, you know what I mean? Like, there's like real staunch conservative types. There's real like more libertarian types, liberal even people. disaffected liberal people. I been having a lot of really good conversations with people. A lot. It's great.
Yeah. No, Ottawa was very diverse. It was funny because I would see people of color going up to the cops on the front lines. They're like, how am I a supremacist? Like, how does this make sense? Like, what are you guys doing enforcing this off these crazy lies? Like absolutely insane. The whole thing, like we're there and hanging out front lines, and they're just like one on one, just pushing people down, taking people out, and I'm like, dude, this is like the most diverse, chill, well organized thing I've ever seen, and you're just like completely beating people up. Then people are cheering for it, like we were talking about earlier. How from the one side it's the hypocrisy of like, you know, beating people is not bad, police brutality is not bad, but then when it's a person you disagree with that's getting beat, all of a sudden violence is okay.
Yeah, see, I'm not okay with that. Like even with like Black Lives Matter and all of those things, I understand when they got violent, like put an end to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if they're coming there to protest, even if you don't agree with what they have to say, like it's not that I don't think Black Lives Matter. I know that it's a Marxist movement, and I don't agree with that at all, right? But I believe that they have every right to organize and go say their piece and do whatever they want to do, as long as they don't become violent, as long as they don't destroy property, all that stuff. So like any groups that would go in and like try to agitate with them, I disagree with them entirely. I think those people have every right to do what they want to do, as long as, like I said, that's the caveat. Don't destroy property and don't. We all know how that turned out, but that's it. Like it turns around, it's the other side, and people are peaceful, but then you have this vitriol, and I don't see a lot of the vitriol coming from the other side. You know what I mean? I don't see a lot of like freedom-loving people saying like, "Go beat up those supporters of whatever thing I don't like."
Yeah.
You don't hear that. You hear a lot more of like, well, let's go and talk to them and start a conversation. Maybe I could change their mind or something like that. But from there's this real push on the left towards, and it's funny because they say like there's like groups like Antifa, right? Which they say that they're anti-fascist, but they use fascist techniques. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, what's more of a fascist technique than or strategy than use violence for political gain? I mean, that's absolutely what fascism is. So we live in this weird Orwellian world. Let me tell
Yeah.
you,
Yeah. Yeah.
it is crazy. Everything's backwards. Everything's nuts. Everything is exactly the opposite of what we're told that it is. You know, if you can look at any government legislation, just look at the title, and it's the opposite of what it's purporting to be. Absolutely.
Well, wasn't it you that posted a thing? Was it yesterday or today where Trudeau's like talking about um he was talking about like government control and like how it's unacceptable and all this stuff, and it's like, dude, that's you. Like you're
That's him.
literally like,
Yeah.
he projects everything and he says what he is, like the racist stuff, and calling people like fascists, or people who support Trudeau calling us fascists, meanwhile, and they're calling us Nazis, meanwhile they're going and they're running people over with horses, little old ladies, like they're beating people
In
and like,
cars. In cars.
yeah.
That's what happened out in, what was it, in Saskatchewan? Was it?
Oh,
At
it
one of
was
the
either
rallies?
Winnipeg or Saskatoon that van ran that person down.
Yeah, guy just felt it in him to run somebody over. We heard about this from the States. Like somebody went and shot somebody over, and the stated fact that this person gave was, well, he's a Republican, so I shot him.
I know, it's
It's,
insane.
like the rhetoric's getting scary from the leaders and encouraging this type of behavior.
Well, who was the guy the other day that said, the liberal MP who said that when horses are lame, they get shot or something, and then no one talked about it? If that came from a right wing or a conservative or something, that would be just all over the news. They'd be raging over that.
Yeah, what's funny is like I didn't rage over that comment. I didn't think it was an outrageous comment.
I
It
didn't think
was
so either.
Yeah, it was stupid. Like you do politics. Why would you say something where it's like you're saying shot? But like I get it. He was calling the comment lame, not that the politician should have been shot.
Yeah.
It was out of touch with his position and where he is. And you know, a lot of people I knew right immediately, oh yeah, people are gonna jump on this one and say that he was calling for violence. I don't believe that he was calling for violence. But the hypocrisy is in the fact that they would go nuts over that. They would go absolutely nuts over that comment and say exactly what you're saying. That they would say, oh, he's calling for violence, when he clearly wasn't.
Yeah, literally not. Yeah. No, so I guess I'm gonna ask you some questions, and we'll start off with a question that I'm sure is on everyone's mind. How the hell do you do it, man? How do you upload 2 videos a day, live stream once, twice a week, and then work a day job all day? Like, what are you doing? Are you getting up in the morning and making videos? Are you going, like, coming home from work and making them? Like, when you eating? You have kids, right? Like,
yeah,
how are you doing this?
So first thing I did was I gave up sleeping. I thought, you know, sleep is over. No, I sleep as much as I possibly can. I just kind of compartmentalize my day. I always pay attention to the media anyway. Like, this is kind of an obsession of mine. I'm aware of what's going on in politics. I'm aware of what's going on in the news, and I've been following that for a long time. Just not really sharing my opinion that much on my YouTube channel. And well, when the Freedom Convoy happened, I was like, well, here goes my silence, because these are my people, right? This is my walk of life. You know, truckers, mechanics. Like, I'm a tradesman. I'm a mechanic. Like, I gotta do something, and I'm not driving to Ottawa, so I'm gonna do what I know how to do, and that's talk to a camera. And so I got into that. And one of the things I did was I started waking up super early in the morning. And this is the weird thing that made it all work. I wake up super early, like 4:30, and because I'm listening to the news all day during the day while I'm wrenching on cars, I'm listening to the news, I'm paying attention to what's going on, and then in the evening I'm catching up on stuff and, you know, have my fun time with my kids and all that stuff. When I wake up in the morning, I'm energized and I'm ready to go. I just turn on the camera and I start recording the things that I learned throughout the day. And that's it. And I'm able to do it because I don't edit anything. I record and I upload right away. Like one take, 10-minute video, upload it, put in a description, and quickly do a little Photoshop for the thumbnail. And then live streams are on Friday night, so I know I can sleep in the next day, unless I'm doing them on the weekdays, which is more and more frequent because the popularity is growing. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I'm able to manage it at this point. I don't know if I could take on any more though. That's something else.
Yeah, so 2 things I noticed that you do that I don't do is get up super early. I haven't been doing that in a while, and I notice I have my most energy inspiration in the mornings to go on with my day and get going and try to manage everything. And I haven't been doing that. I have some sort of an ADD type thing where I focus on a car, and then all of a sudden my mind wants to go edit a video, and then I want to go to the gym, or I want to go on a hike. It's crazy. But another thing is the fact that you can talk to a camera consistently and do one take. Like, I can't really do that right now. It's weird because I'm so used to vlog format or like Snapchat or Instagram, where I'm like doing like a story and I hold and I let off. So for me to sit there in one take, like, I feel like, you know, it's no different than like doing a live stream really, but still it's like a strange concept to me because I'm so used to filming vlogs and structuring them and different, you know, and putting this kind of weird take on things. But
well, what I'll do is I'll start with an opening statement, like talking about the thing that it is, right? So I have the video thought out structure wise from the start to the finish in my head on how I want to structure this. And then I'll think of my opening statement that I want to say, and then just get right into it, right? And then I'm a blabbermouth, so I just don't shut up. Once I get going, like, I could just keep going and going and going. Talk. I do 2 hours live stream every Friday night, and I just 2 hours. I usually don't have a voice by the end of it. But what I'll do is I'll have it all planned out. I'll go through the main premise. I'll hit all the talking points that I wanted to get to through the whole story, and I have them in a Google Chrome tabs. I got a million tabs all the time. But I'll go through that, and then once I've said my piece, I just move on. I think what a lot of people like about what I do is, and this has to do with like my viewing habits on YouTube, is I hate when people don't get right to the point. I hate when people don't. Or I don't like ads. I don't like when people put an ad in the video. You got to watch an ad, and then the guy puts an ad in the first 30 seconds of a video. So I don't do that. I do all the things that I would appreciate somebody else doing, and I think people respond well to it. Like
Do you
people
have
like.
ads?
No, I don't run ads.
Hmm.
I mean, Google runs ads for me, and then everybody deals with that unless you buy YouTube Premium or an ad blocker or whatever you do, right? I'd recommend doing the YouTube Premium instead of ad blocker. Whitelist YouTube, help support your YouTube people that you like on the website. YouTube Red's a great way to not have ads if you use the site enough. And I sound like I'm shilling right now, but I use it. I use it because I like to support the creators that I watch, and I whitelist the website so that I don't get ads, but they get a piece of the pie. But I definitely I don't like to bombard people with ads. I've been thinking about starting to run ads in my live streams as like a test case. But if I ever run ads, it'll be at the end of the video because I don't want to do that 30 seconds at the beginning of a video. I think people like my channel because I get right to the point. I think that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and I've realized that watching your channel, I'm just sitting there, I'm like, it's just so clean. I'm like, put a video on, I'm like, here we go. And it is to the point. And I'm trying to get like more of my stuff, like mine's storytelling in vlog format and stuff, but it's still like I've learned to keep audience retention. It's like, kind of, do some things, move around, do some stuff, and try to get to the point quick. What are we doing today? Why are we doing it? And then ads, I definitely run ads. But I don't know. I've never actually looked. I'm horrible. I never actually looked into it, but I just kind of clicked.
It's work. It's work, man. It's work. So like I've had so many companies approach me, and I'm like, I don't like that product. I don't want that. I don't. I'm so picky about it because like I really care about the audience and their response to like what happens in the video. And maybe if I kick ads to the end of the video just to to keep the lights on or something like that, maybe I'll go that route. But I haven't needed to yet. Like people are pretty generous in the live streams with the super chats, and YouTube's pretty generous with the amount of views that come in. It's pretty good. It's pretty good to get a little bit of kickback for that. I mean, it's not enough to quit my day job, but it's definitely it's a nice little bonus, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I never actually looked into like where the money comes from because I run the ads, but I'm like, I don't like you get paid per click. Is there like is that how it works as well?
Oh, like the Google backend. So the way Google works is they're an ad company, right? They got Google AdSense. And what they do is their job is to buy or sell ads to advertisers. They use whatever demographics, like people pinpoint what demographics they want to use. This is why, okay, let's get to the bottom of this one. So the Wall Street Journal, a bunch of years ago, they found some like bad people on YouTube, and the author of this article, he just click refresh over and over and over again until a Coca-Cola ad showed up on this bad person's video, right? And then he writes an article saying, hey, Coca-Cola, why are you running your advertisement on this bad person video, right? And we all know what the bad people are or whatever. It's some guy who thinks in supremacy or whatever. And so Coca-Cola responds with a PR statement. We don't run the ads. We're not the ones who decide who gets seen the ads. At the end of the day, they don't care. They don't care. All they care about is, are you within this age group? Are you more likely to buy our product or not buy our product, right? So let's advertise. But when you spin it to the general populace, the general populace will be like, oh God, that is bad. Why is Coca-Cola sharing it with that ad revenue with that guy? And it's like, well, Google doesn't even care, right? So what it did was, the Wall Street Journal is a dying franchise, just like all the rest of the mainstream media. They're dying. So what they were trying to do is like sabotage the industry of new media. And because they're not stupid, the writer of this didn't, it's not like he didn't understand how this works. They don't care about what you're viewing. They don't care about anything. They just care about what your demographic is, right? And then they run ads based on that demographic. This is why YouTubers will often pay attention to their demographics, because they're like, okay, well, people within that demographic, well, what are they in tune to? What do they want to hear? What do they want to be told? What do they want to see in videos? Because at the end of the day, you're just trying to make a better product for the people that are watching your stuff, right? Like, people who watch my videos, they want to hear about the Canadian government and what's going on. Sometimes I'll cover a story that's not very interesting to them. It's interesting to me, and it shows in my view count. It just is what it is, right? But how did I get on this? Advertising. Yeah, okay. So anyway, the back end is you get paid based on ads that Google serves to people based on their demographics, not based on you. So you might be recommended to them based on their watch habits, because Google's watching they see what you're watching, and they watch how long you watch a particular thing. So they'll recommend more stuff that you like, right? So to keep you on the website longer, let's give this person exactly what they're looking for. And then they serve ads based on things that your shopping habits and stuff like that. And this is their business model. So based on that, if they're serving ads to the people who are watching your video, they give you a cut. So they give you the lion's share of the cut, because if they don't, then there's like some sort of legal thing where they're basically a partner in it if they get more than 50% of the ad revenue. So they take a lesser share of the ad revenue. They give you the lion's share, but they're able to serve the advertisement to you without being a partner, like in the content and what it is you're saying and stuff like that. So they're playing the rules based on Section 230 and a bunch of other American laws that have come out, and a lot of countries just kind of follow suit, except like Germany and some other weird places. But yeah, based on that, individuals will make a certain amount of ad revenue associated to what views happen on their channel. But if somebody has an ad blocker, Google can't run the ad, so the content creator doesn't get paid. That's the thing.
Freaking interesting.
Yeah, I know so much back end stuff. It's boring as heck. But like, it's like when I talk about economics, people are just like, look at me with a blank stare on their face. I'm like, okay, well, it's interesting to me. I thought it was fascinating. I clearly didn't strike a chord with anybody.
Quick pause before I ask you the next question here. What are you drinking there, Tyler?
Oh, I'm drinking Asahi.
Oh, I got PBR.
It's super dry. I saw that you have a video how to shotgun a beer.
Yeah, I want to educate people on how to get her done.
So I used to live in Japan, and I got hooked on this one. It's one of my favorites, and that's what it says right there. Super dry.
You lived in Japan? When was that, and why? That sounds cool.
So my wife's Japanese. We met in Canada, and we fell in love. The typical love story. I don't know. We fell in love, and we got married, and we were married for about 3 years, and then we decided, hey, why don't we go move to Japan?
Mind if I smoke?
I don't mind. I'm not gonna. You gonna get secondhand smoke over here or something?
No, it's a little Easter egg for the audience. Mind if I smoke? They'll know.
Oh, it's too funny.
Okay. Keep going.
Too funny.
Keep going.
But yeah, we got hitched. 3 years later, we decided to move to Japan so I could learn the language and the culture and all that stuff. And because I wasn't there on some working visa tied to a company, I could just work anywhere. And so I got a job at a bar with only Japanese people. When I first got there, it was hard. It was so hard. It was really tough. But I had to learn the language in order to survive. And that I find that if you go the hardest route, everything works out better in the end. So I
That
always
is
go
so
with a
true, man. That's so true.
so I always take the most difficult path, thinking it'll be gravy later, right?
Yeah.
And and it turned out that way because it's pretty gravy. Every time I go to Japan now, like I can speak the language, I can talk to people, I can figure out my own stuff, and I don't have to rely on anybody.
Every time I
And it's
go out of my
helpful.
comfort zone, I always do the best. I always learn the most, and it sticks with me.
Yeah, yeah, go way out of your comfort zone.
Yep.
Take the hard approach first. I'm the same way with dinner. Like if the wife makes something, ever since I was a kid, right? Even like mom makes something I didn't like, I'd gobble that up first because I always looked at it like at least the last thing I eat will be my favorite food. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's just
That's a
I
good
don't know.
one.
It's a mentality that I've always
You
had.
save them chicken fingers for last.
Right, right. The
Yeah.
chicken fingers are the best, and you're like, yeah, I want to make sure there's just enough sauce, you know. So like, I'll go skimpy on the sauce for the first few bites because I know it won't make it through all the chicken fingers. So that last one is just like, dripping with barbecue.
Honey mustard for this guy.
Okay, same. It's good. It's good.
So where did you become educated on politics and find your passion in that?
I read books. I read
Yeah.
books. For a dyslexic guy, I read books. Yeah, whether it's real books, takes me longer to get through. Audio books. I just have a real interest in how things work, right? So I've got a mechanical mind. This is what got me into the career path that I'm in. I look at things pragmatically, and I think, how do you break this apart, and how can I simplify systems in order to understand them at their most fundamental, basic level. And every time I get interested in one of these things, like I got really interested in economics way back, like in '08, when things started getting pretty hairy around the world because of the shock with the '08 bust. I was a bit into it before that. Actually, no, I got into it before that. Wait a second. What am I saying? After the .com, and then 04, I think, was when I really got into economics, and I started reading into some stuff. And I read a lot of stuff from Ludwig von Mises and F.A. Hayek, and got into the Austrian School of Economics, and then that led me into the Chicago School of Economics with Milton Friedman, Thomas Sowell. All of that stuff, and it's really interesting because I think economics is an interesting philosophy or science. People argue whether it's a philosophy or science, but I think it should be viewed in a different way than people often look at it. It's a lot more to do with like a behavioral type of science, but not in a behavioral like how people, but and what they're doing in their psyche, but how and why people make actions economically, why they make decisions with their lives, why they decide not to buy or sell certain things or get into doing things. And this is where it becomes like a bit of a political philosophy at the same time. Economics is really interesting. You can predict a lot of things about people's behavior and what they're going to do based on economic theory. And I again, it's because things are all systems around the world. Where you're talking about ecology, economics, anthropology, the way people behave, they're all systems. And I'll spurg out on stuff like this, right? I get real spurgy, and I want to know like every little fine detail about it, and that's really what fuels me. And then watching my country go completely to crap based on these principles, it was kind of my calling. I was like, oh, okay, well, I should talk about this. And then it led to a lot of people going, why the hell does this mechanic guy, this grease monkey, know so much about political systems and economics and philosophy and all that stuff? And it's led me interesting places because I didn't think I'd be where I'm at today.
Yeah, it's interesting because I met Sam Field, which a lot of you know. I've had him on the stream here before, and a couple times actually live streams with Sam. And yeah, Sam told me about you. And he's like, yeah, because I was watching you in
We're
Ottawa.
friends.
Yeah, I know exactly. And Sam told me about you, and he's like, yeah, I know he's like an off-roader mechanic guy. I'm like, really? That's hilarious. I look back on your channel back in the day. I'm like, oh yeah, he's talking about cars and stuff, weren't you? In some of your older videos.
Yeah, and a lot of drinking beer and a lot of wrenching on cars. that was the thing back in the day. But like, yeah, I know Sam. I know Sam because he's a local to where I live, and he's a super cool guy. And then when the convoy kicked off and I started talking about it, I saw he was on the road out there, and I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
And I got yakking with him saying, hey, give me the inside scoop on whatever's happened. And he's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then like a week later, he sent me a message like, we're watching you in my trailer tonight. What is going on here? He's like, I'm in Ottawa and you're a big YouTuber now. What the heck? This is crazy.
That's funny. Yeah. His trailer there, he had the wood stove in there or a gas stove or something. He has it decked out. He's living in there right on Wellington Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was good. I love going by there. I'd always, during my daily live streams, walk down to the end of Wellington, hop in the trailer, hang out, live stream with them for a bit, chat, pet the dog they had there, and then go walk down the street and do more live streaming.
Yeah, it's something else entirely. But it was so cool to watch watch your live streams and then seeing Sam out there. When Sam finally made it back out here and we went camping this summer.
Yeah, he's down at his place there. He's on the lake or on the ocean or something there.
Yeah, he's on the lake. And
God, he's got a beautiful place.
Oh yeah.
Unreal.
It's nice. Living off the land, man.
I want to go check it out.
You ought to. You got. Yeah. Well, I'll come out if you do.
Oh yeah, we'll have a good old time drinking beer.
Yeah, we will.
So, what do you think of Pierre Pauliev? What do you think? Do you think he's out to get us and he's on the World Economic Forum scheme, or do you think he's serving Canadians and trying to change how things are operating here in Canada?
Well, speaking of serving things, I didn't know we were having a beer drinking chat, so I'm going to grab another one from the fridge. Why don't you tell the audience about how you feel about Pierre Pauliev, and then I'll come fill in the rest.
All right, Pierre Pauliev. Let's see here. We got some comments here. Let's read some comments. Ricky Trailer Park Boys 2005. Yeah, we got a lot of comments, guys. These are awesome. I've been reading them. I'm going through them and checking them out. But smokes, come on, let's go. Beers and smokes. But yeah, Pierre Pauliev. Oh, I didn't even get into it yet.
I'm back. I was like, oh, you should be done. You should be done by now. He's this and that, and I trust him or I don't.
Great guy, huge rod. He's ready to go. Let's talk about it.
Oh goodness. I forgot to lock the door.
Hey, buddy.
You gonna say hi, Daniel?
How's it going, man?
Say hi to Tanner. Oh, he's shy. He's totally shy. Hey, why don't you head back in?
Future live streamer.
Oh, I gotta let him out. I forgot to lock the door. Give me a sec.
All good.
Come on, you little.
Lesser of two evils. Why does he not have a contender yet? That's the question. They're gonna replace Trudeau. You watch. They're gonna oust Trudeau pretty soon. You can see it in the way the titles have been going in the news. They're probably gonna oust Trudeau, and they're gonna try to bring someone to run against Pierre. I think, because obviously they don't want to keep Trudeau in. I mean, people can see that. So I think by the time there is another election, we'll probably have another Liberal leader voted in or something like that. But
you think we're gonna end up with another Liberal instead of swinging the pendulum?
I think they're. Well, I think that they're going to oust Trudeau as the Liberal leader at some point. Bring another guy in.
Oh, probably a lady. That's. I mean,
probably
it's a liberal strategy.
Christia, bring Christia in. Let's have her run things.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I think the pendulum's swinging full swing the other way. The Liberal Party. There's inklings in the party that they want to get away from woke culture, woke ideology. It was a popular thing, but now it's like really bad stuff. It's toxic. Everybody knows it's losing companies money and it's losing politicians their grip on power. So they want to get away from it. Now, this is a good thing. This is a good thing because that means that the liberals will just become corrupt liberals again. This is what my now new friend that I've been chatting with, BJ Dichter, was telling me about just recently. I got in touch with him, and he was saying that. He's like, this is a really good thing that the liberals are going more centrist. But I think that this is the pendulum swinging, and they're not swinging fast enough. I think we're definitely going to end up with something in the conservative leadership or something along that way, that wavelength. Sorry, PPC people. I don't think that the PPC is going to win. I think that they'll do good. They'll do good, but I don't think that they're gonna take it. There's a lot of people that went PPC because the conservatives weren't going conservative. They're going establishment. And now that doesn't seem to be going that way, there's a lot of people moving towards Pierre Pauliev. And a lot of people that were turned off, even when Harper was around, are now turned on to Pierre Pauliev. So here's the thing. He is more mainstream to Canadians, straight up. And I think even more so than Harper. I think if the Conservatives really wanted to win against Justin Trudeau when Harper was in, Harper should have stepped down and they should have went with somebody new. I mean, Andrew Scheer wasn't the guy for the job. O'Toole was not the guy for the job. But I think even Conservatives were sick of the Conservatives. And it was a long time coming, and they needed a shuffle around, but a shuffle around with ideology too. Like this establishment crap just does not fly for Canadians. We just don't want it. Like a majority of Canadians don't want it. Maybe some people in the city, it appeals to them, but I mean, so does woke all the ideology. So forget them, right? Like I think the Overton window shifting and the pendulum swinging to the right now. And this isn't just a Canadian phenomenon. This is happening around the world. And people want to get away from consolidation in government. They want to get away from that. They're looking more towards decentralization. And I think it's an uphill battle still. But I think because the momentum is moving in that direction, all it takes is guys like us to just go, here you go. Here's a little helping hand. Let's get people over. But not only that, let's not make a new establishment. Let's bring on the idea of instead of just brainwashing people and telling them, yeah, this is the new flavor, go drink your Kool-Aid. No, like let's bring people back to the concept of having civic duty and actually understanding what's going on in their country, figuring out where they stand personally. Like I found a lot of people, they're looking for a leader, somebody to lead them. This isn't what we should be teaching people. We should be teaching people to figure it out for themselves. What kind of life do you want? You don't need somebody to guide you. Figure it out. And we should get away from leaders that want to rule us rather than just be representatives of us in a place where they gather in Ottawa. You know what I mean? So I think this is the direction that we're going. I think Pierre Pauliev is a symptom of that. And I think he's definitely riding the train, and he's the right guy at the right time. But I don't believe he's a savior or anything like that. And I try to dissuade people from thinking that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Pendulum swinging back. It's going to take some time. I mean,
full born.
They took how many years to do this to us and put us in these predicaments and, gain this woke ideology and stuff. I mean, a better part of a decade.
Yeah, we ended up with a better conservative party now. So we have a conservative party that's not trying to make weed illegal. Like, and I don't care about weed. I really don't. But I don't, because I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't smoke it or whatever. I just don't enjoy it. But I think that people who do enjoy it. What's that?
I was buying better shit before.
Okay, whatever the case. But the thing is, I don't think it should be illegal, and that, it's just stupid. And the conservatives just held on to that for way too long, and they ended up hurting because of it. Like, we're better off now because that's not even a question. It's not even up for debate. I mean, Canadians, the consensus is it should just be legal. Who cares? Let people smoke what they want to smoke. No big deal.
Yeah. Let's read a couple comments here. We got a super chat from Unacceptable Fringe, $5. Thank you so much. Clyde gets around like Trudeau in a bathhouse. Glad to see you guys live together.
That's good.
That's funny. Yeah, we got a lot of comments. It's hard. I wish it could be coming up in the restream here, but Bum and Smokes. Thanks, YouTubers, for bringing us freedom content. No problem.
Absolutely.
We had one in here, someone talking about how when the speaker the camera went off or the audio went off. I remember that one. I'm trying to remember exactly.
So you're talking about the World
WF.
Economic Forum?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so like up until like a few months ago, that was a conspiracy theory that organization didn't exist, and except when the news wanted to report on some findings that they had that worked for the narrative. They're like, "Oh, the World Economic Forum came up with this theory and this idea and this study that they performed." But anytime you mention like, hey, there's this like lobby group of billionaires that are trying to subvert democracy, conspiracy theory. Why would that be a thing? How would that be a thing?
How dare you?
No, but here's the thing. So the truth is somewhere in the middle, right? So it's like, I know the guy looks like a Bond villain and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if he wasn't going for that, he still nailed it, right? Like that's the way it is. But so Klaus Schwab is an economist who came up with his own economic treatise, right? He came up with this idea of stakeholder capitalism. This is his thing, right? And I mean, it has nothing to do with capitalism if you actually look into what he has he's espousing. It actually is more of like a system like fascism, like similar to like Mussolini's fascism, where we are stronger together when we bring all the corporations together and we unite with government and make a governmental body. That's what the idea of Mussolini's fascism was. And it's no different. The only difference between his and Mussolini's is he has this idea that there's going to be a fourth industrial revolution where robots will take care of the price mechanism. Like, he literally believes this. Like, we're going to have automation of everything, and there's going to be there's going to be no scarcity anymore. We're going to be in ultra abundance, and there's going to be no... The biggest problems in society are going to be people not having anything to do. Now, I've heard these theories before. They came about during the last industrial revolution and the agricultural revolution. They all had the same theories. People are going to have nothing to do when you have, big machines that can till the fields, and 80% of the population no longer works in the farmers' fields. Well, it turns out we found stuff to do, right? It's the way of the world. We always end up finding stuff to do and create new economies, create new things. But he has this belief that people are going to have nothing to do, and so therefore we need to have stuff for them to do, basically control them and put them in their pods and have them live in these and eat the bugs. Yeah, like it's absurd. But at the end of the day, the World Economic Forum is this it's a lobby group, and it's a billionaires club, and he basically came up with this. It's a pretty ingenious formula, actually. What you do is you get all these billionaires to join. I mean, it must have been hard to get the first few billionaires to join. But then for everybody else, it becomes like the prestige thing. You get a membership, because if you don't have the membership, you're not part of the billionaires club, and you look you look pretty crappy compared to the other billionaires across the street. And it's a grass is greener type mentality, and that's how he sucks people in. And then by controlling the narrative within the organization, and he can make it so none of them speak out. So publicly, they all just go along with the thing that he's saying. And some of them actually get brainwashed into it. Like when you see Leonardo DiCaprio and these guys going around telling everybody that they shouldn't be polluting the world while they're flying around in their jet, telling people that. Like, I genuinely think I genuinely think these people actually believe this crap. Like some of them do. Like some of them are actually totally like wrapped up in it. It's like a cult. It's a cult for billionaires. It's a cult for really, really, really uber rich people. But it's no different than Plato's Cave, right? If you know philosophy a bit, so Plato's Cave, it was this idea, or yeah, the Platonic society where we're gonna make everything work the best because what we're gonna do is we're gonna gather all the smartest people and we're gonna have our smart little people group and we're gonna dictate what everybody does because the smartest people would obviously have the best idea of how that works. And it's like, oh, okay, well, who's the smartest people group? Well, it's me, of course. I'm the smart guy. I'm the one who's gonna do this, and everybody else has to listen to what I'm saying. But what if we found other smart people? Nope, they're not smart enough. Like we can't have those smart people. And it really is that. It's this idea like Karl Marx had of the Platonic society where it's run by a group of elites that are so smarter than everybody else, and they'll figure it out for the population. And you low IQ individuals shouldn't be able to manifest your own destiny because you just don't know good enough for yourself. Because that,
Yeah,
it's hideous. It's hideous as like a moral thing, and it's been proved wrong time after time after people have tried it out, like because it's really the ideology of the socialist or communist, right? Is that a central authority is going to rule over society and they're going to make all the decisions and figure things out, and things always go wrong, and it has every time they've tried it over a century, and 100 million people dead, and there's still people trying it. It's stupid in my opinion.
I appreciate your knowledge on philosophy and history.
Tell me if I'm going too far with this. I don't know. I'm rambling.
No, it's great. It's awesome. It's inspiring me to educate myself more on it. There's so much interesting stuff in history and philosophy, and like Roman philosophy and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
super interesting stuff.
Yeah, the Greek philosophy, and then
Greek.
It goes way back. We've got a lot of history, but I mean, we've got a lot of dark times too in history. So hopefully we get out of this dark age that we're in.
Well, it makes you wonder, like, how does a guy Klaus Schwab get to a point where he's wearing like Sith Lord Darth Sidious robes and stuff, and he's
it's like they don't think of the optics. I don't get it. I don't get it when they're doing this stuff. Like, I'm gonna make my own club. We're gonna have some symbology. I don't know. It's gonna be some like bull, a cross, a shield. I don't know. I'm gonna get my jacket with the pointy shoulders.
Like that one of Biden last week in the States when he gave that speech and he's got his fists up and it's all red behind him. It's like
they knew what they were doing.
Of course they do.
They knew what they were doing with that.
Oh, like, yeah.
That was, I don't know. I think that was there to try to intimidate the right on that one.
100%, yeah.
Or get them to freak out.
It is how unacceptable these people are, the rise of dissent and all that. And I mean, God, like it was pretty dark, the things he was saying.
Yeah, it was to demonize, to say like, okay, we went through 4 years of Donald Trump and he was so divisive. I'm going to be the uniter. And in my uniting of people, the first thing I'm going to do is tell people that half of Americans are the enemy. Like, what is that?
Literally half. Yeah, literally half. It's like, man, these guys are bad news.
Holy cow. That's just not, no, that's not how you do it, man. Unless it's designed to be that way. Unless you're purposely doing that.
Pop too much lately.
Corn pop in the red room. God, it's something else, man. It's like it's hard to figure out what's happening. Like, all right, is it on purpose, or is it accidental and just incidental, and like that's how it went down? Or it's really hard to point a finger on it. But conjecture still sure is fun though.
And you don't want to give them too much credit. Like, oh, they know this, they know that, they've got this 1,000-year cultist plan and all this stuff. And I mean, you don't want to give them too much credit. But then again, I mean, like, a lot of it looks super intentional. It's like, dude, it's too many coincidences to not label it as totally intentional with a lot of these things.
Yeah, I mean, but people go a bit far. Like, yeah, they're demons and they're doing these demonic things. They have demonic rituals. I don't know how accurate that is. I I know that, like, okay, so conspiracy theories are fun to dive into. I don't really report on them on my channel because, like, not a lot of it is like really what I do.
You're not reporting about the drinking of children's blood? You're not reporting on that?
It's so weird. It's so weird when you hear a story like that, and are these stories corroborated? I don't know, but like then you find out about spirit cooking and that it's a real thing. Like that's a real thing.
Spirit cook? What's that?
Spirit cooking. It's the drinking of blood and all of that stuff. That's the parties that they go to.
Oh yes, I seen that. Yeah, I seen a thing with Megan Fox drinking blood or something there.
Right. So like I don't know how much of it's accurate, but I know that some of it's been corroborated that these events, these spirit cooking events do happen. And yeah, it's kind of like just hocus pocus, weird stuff. Like it's kind of like getting the guy to come over with the dowsing rods. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna find some water. Yeah, sure you are, buddy. Like whatever. But you get some like rich elite people that are so bored with their life because they're rich and they got everything they ever wanted, so they want something weird and taboo or something, right? I mean, this is my thought of how this goes down, right? I don't know this to be the case, but it's kind of my inkling. But like you get these rich, uber rich people, and they're just bored because they could get any experience they ever want. So they get into the weird stuff. It's kind of like you hear about, like the more of one thing you do, the more you further and further down that rabbit hole you end up, right?
It's more extreme.
Let's have a real life
Hunger Games.
Right. So then next thing you know, you and your friends who just got together before because you're into art and you wanted to see Picasso, now you're going over to a place where they're, beheading goats and you're drinking their blood. It's kind of a slippery slope and a weird one, but I kind of see that more to be the case than them actually being devil worshippers, but could be wrong. I don't know.
And we got that owl thing there down in California. I forget what they call that. Something Grove, Cathedral Grove.
Bohemian Grove. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Bohemian Grove. I remember Alex Jones talking about crazy. Bohemian Grove. I broke into the place. I saw senators and all.
Friggin' Alex Jones.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. Like apparently it's real. So apparently it's a real place and stuff goes down. But again, it seems like one of those like cheesy little secret society things where they pull people in, and I don't know if they're roping these people in for, if there's like, get them in compromising things so you can bribe them later or something. I don't know. All I know is if people asked me to go on a weekend getaway and I showed up and they had like a big flaming owl statue and they were talking about like, okay, the orgies and behind door number 2. I'd be like, I'm good. Thanks for the invite. Catch you next week.
I'd be going to check it out.
I'd be sticking out of the. I don't know about that, man. I don't know. I mean, it would be cool to go undercover and like actually document the thing, but I'm pretty sure they're pretty strict about who comes in, who comes and goes. But I heard about it written years ago, and I think even what was it? Somebody asked, what's his nuts? Nixon, the president Nixon, about it once, and it was recorded, and he said something along the lines of, "Oh yeah, that's where they go to do that gay stuff," and so he knew about it apparently, and he knew that it was just some like front for some other thing that was going on. Now, mind you, at the time, like for gay people to get together, that was pretty shunned in society. So maybe that's what it was all about. Maybe that's actually what it was all about. So who knows?
Highly likely. Yeah, it was super taboo.
Okay, question. Jeff Kingston says 2 car guys. What are your favorite cars?
Well, I'll let you go first. What's your favorite car, Clyde?
My bicycle. No, I work on
Going
I work
green.
on cars. No, I'm not going green for the sake of going green. I'm going. I have a bike that I go to work with on the regular because it's cheaper. And
Motorcycle?
no, a push
Oh,
bike. It's
nice.
got like an electric assist push bike.
Sweet.
But yeah, but it's cheap. It's cheap as chips, right? I just get on the bike. I'm like 1.5 kilometers. It's an 8-minute ride to work. So like there's no sense of taking a car every day. And like honestly, where I live, I have to park out on the road, so it takes me longer to get to the car than it does to just ride my bike to work. So I ride my bike to work.
Get some good
But
exercise, yeah.
yeah. All joking aside, though, like I work on cars for a living, so cars as a hobby have really kind of diminished my passion for cars. I do have like a list of favorites. Like when I was younger, I always liked the old Dodge cars. That was like I was like a Mopar guy growing up. I loved that. So like if I was to choose one, it'd be like maybe 70 Dart Swinger. 71, I think.
Sweet.
Dart Swinger. That would probably be my car. If I could ever get like my dream thing that I always wanted since I was young.
My buddy's got one of those. It's a 70 or maybe a 72. It's in there somewhere. It's blue. His name's Matt. It's got it's a billet Hemi, a 570 or 8 something cubic inch billet Hemi. And he brought it on our Miles of Mayhem drag and drive event. And God, the thing on this tour, he had it set down to 2,000
Billet,
horsepower.
you said? Billet
Yeah,
Hemi.
billet Hemi block.
So like a aluminum billet block? That's got to be really pricey.
Yeah, used they go for 50 grand apparently. On the high end new, they're $100,000 block. And I mean, like,
That's crazy.
on conservative tune to drive it on this event on Canadian roads and on Canadian tracks. I mean, he was 2,000 horsepower, but on kill mode it makes 4,200 horsepower.
That's insane. That's insane.
Well, he pulls up. I'm in my 305 Camaro 5-speed. I took a very conservative car. It's like a 200 something horsepower car, and he pulls up in this thing. It's just rattling my windows in, and I'm like, oh my god, how do you drive that thing on the street?
Wow. Yeah, it's cool. That's really cool though. I mean, it must just
car
like go through a tank around the corner. Like that's it.
Oh, it would for sure. But my favorite car is this bad boy right here. Well, I always love the O2 Trans Ams, but honestly, like, if I had to have an actual real dream car that I could afford to buy, like, straight out, it'd be like a 69 Charger or I don't know. I like a lot of cars. It could be very many things, but a 69 Charger's always been like, that's what got me into cars was the Dukes of Hazzard movie of Sean William Scott and Johnny Knoxville. And I was like, dude, that and AC/DC
Wait,
and
what?
cars.
Dukes of Hazzard movie got you?
Yeah, the
into
one
cars?
that came out in 2004 or 5. It had Sean William Scott and Johnny Knoxville as Bo and Luke. And
You were never into cars before that.
What's that?
You were never into cars before that.
No, I wasn't at all. I honestly,
wow.
I was like, yeah, I was about when that movie came out. I didn't see it when it first came out. I didn't see it till I was about probably 16, I want to say. So when it came out,
you were young. You were young. Okay.
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
You're making me feel like an old guy, massively. Holy crap!
How old are you?
I'm 40.
Really? You don't look a
Yeah.
day over 31.
Yeah.
I was guessing you as 32 or 31.
No, I'm 40. I'm 40.
Decent.
Yeah.
You're holding it, brother. You're holding it.
I'm an old guy. So yeah, you're making
you're
me
a boomer.
making me feel like a boomer right now. Talking about like I got into cars when I saw the Dukes of Hazzard movie. I'm like, movie? I remember watching the show as a kid. What are you talking about?
Never got into the show much. I watched it, but I just never. I just like the movie so much because AC/DC and all the things they were doing. They're blowing up cop cars and stuff. And
fair enough. Well, they did that in the show.
yeah, they did. And you know what? Now that's way too extreme to put into a TV series. So.
Oh wow. Fair enough. Okay, so yeah, the 69 Charger, that was the Bo and Luke Dukes, the Duke brothers. That was their car.
Yeah, and I mean, no one really
never watched
wanted
the movie.
those. No one really wanted those before. I mean, no one cared for them much, and then Dukes of Hazzard started thinning the herd out on them and getting them more popular. Same with the 70s Bandit Trans Ams and stuff. Like a 69 Charger was really a full-size car. Like it came with like anything back then. It came with options that, you know, I mean, you had everything from like a 318 or an inline six all the way up to a 426 Hemi with an 833 4-speed. So it was like, you know, it's like everything had an option then. So, you know, or 440.
I worked at a shop when I was a kid. I was a tire guy when I was real young, and the owner of the shop, he had one, a 69. It didn't have the flag on the roof. It was the orange color though. And it had a 383, but it was all clapped out, and it was a one wheel peeler.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was cool to look at, but it was just like, you know, it didn't go all that much. But we worked on other cars.
All ass.
Did not. No. It was just a grandpa car. you drive around. It was a big boat. Boom, 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 boom. Go over a set of tracks. You know, the wheels are doing that. But the car is just kind of floating.
Someone said I look 15. I don't know if it's a compliment or not, but I kind of take it as a compliment. I'm looking young.
There you go.
I'm 31.
You sound 15 when you're talking about watching that movie so young.
Yeah. I can see it. I think it came out when I was probably 13, 14 in there, but I really didn't get it until I was about 16. And then I was like, dude, I want to run from cops. I want to build a cool car. And then I did just that. And I'm like, you know, I have all these stories and I can go on forever about the times I've evaded the law. But, you know, I'm not one of those guys just going to make it up. Like I was actually inspired to do it. And I think I did it in the last era where it was easy or it was, you know, it wasn't as bad. Like, I mean, cop cars when I was growing up, they were Crown Vics. Now you have 400 horsepower EcoBoost Ford Edges as cop cars. So you really got to have something special to get away from them because they're going to haul ass.
So what do you think about souping up cars then?
I love it. That's all I do. I mean, I got this Mustang here is a nitrous 393 stroker, 600 horse on engine, 700 on nitrous. And then that Trans Am's like a 600 horsepower stroker deal with all race suspension and stuff. And I'm building this Turbo Coyote, big turbo 2011 Ford F-150 engine and putting an 85 Mustang. And I love souping up cars. I love taking them and making them something different than what they were.
Yeah, you really have to make them something different these days, though, with the modern cars. The way they are.
That's the thing. Like, you know, like this thing here, I mean, back in the day, like those cars were like, they were the top dog, you know, they're going on destroying everything. But now I have, you know, I have QA1 double adjustable coilovers in it. I have all this aftermarket chromoly suspension, a stroker engine, like a radical engine. I have a built 6-speed in it and all this stuff. And I mean, if you look at what this thing would do on a track, whether it be a drag strip or a circuit track or something, I mean, it probably wouldn't even touch a new ZL1 Camaro or like a Z06 Corvette or something. You know,
yeah,
I got about as much money into it.
The tech is great. The tech is great these days.
I'm into it.
The thing is, they're squeezing out as much power as they possibly can out of every cubic inch of these engines that are coming out these days. And I think it's fantastic, but it kills it for anybody who buys a car and is like, I just want to get a couple more horsepower out of it, this and that. Most of the aftermarket stuff that you get will actually diminish the power out of those engines.
Yeah, they're very efficient. I actually got to see, when I was down in Bowling Green, Kentucky at the Corvette plant, I got to actually witness a Z06 C8 right in person. And I like, those are a 6.5 liter, 670 horsepower, naturally aspirated V8. You know, I mean, flat plane crank, they rev like 8,000 RPM. They have an 8-speed gearbox or a 10-speed paddle shift gearbox. And you know what? You're getting away from like the connection with the car, like something like this has where it's got, you know,
what kind of transmissions do they have in those things? So like you're talking about like a dual clutch manual over automatic kind of setup.
Yeah,
I don't work on exotic cars. I work on passenger cars. Like that stuff's like another world for me now.
Well, Corvettes, I mean, back the C5, the C6, I mean, they were essentially just as easy to work on as a passenger car. But now, I mean, I guess the C8s, you can drop the engine out from underneath and everything. Like they're pretty.
The Corvettes were a passenger car back in the day.
Yeah, but now they're straight up like they're a supercar.
It was the same drivetrain that they had in like the Camaro. But then they just made it a lighter body and a bigger carburetor or something like that. Like that's really all they did back in those days. And they would come up with some other tech and stuff, but it was really just, it was Rube Goldberg stuff. It was like It was chintzy, man. I remember looking at some of this stuff back before computers. Like everything was mechanical and weird, and people romanticize about those days, and I just like, oh, I'm glad we got away from that crap. This is garbage.
Oh, that a lot of that stuff from like the 70s or the 80s Corvettes, like the last years of carbureted with emissions. Like it's the amount of shit that's on that engine to try to claim that it makes this much better emissions is just absurd. You know,
It makes it run bad too. I mean, that's the
really bad. It
problem.
chokes them out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this one was originally a 6-cylinder with some EGR stuff on it and a 3-speed automatic. Like it made like probably 50 horsepower to the tire. And then I gutted all that and I put a fancy engine in it with a fancy carburetor and all that fancy stuff. Still playing with the carburetor, so it's still old school as hell, but it's all mechanical and it's got rid of all the other stuff and now it makes good power. And
And what car is that? Is that a Mustang?
yeah, it's an 82 Fox Body Mustang.
Oh, okay. Those are good cars. I remember the Fox Body. They were fun little cars. Because
Yeah.
you had a whole lot of engine for a little tiny light car. I remember I was working at a shop around the time that those because what year is that? 80,
That's an 82.
82. So I remember working on this old lady. She had I want to say a 91, and her husband bought it, and he passed away. But she was just this old lady, and she's like, "This is the car we got," and it was this robin's egg blue Mustang with a 5-liter in it, all like all the good shit, and she had doilies on the seats and shit.
Oh, are those like those bead things?
Yeah, and she'd bring it in every once in a while. And she'd be like, "Oh, it just doesn't feel right. Can you have a look at it?" And we just take her for a burn because it would just be all bunged up, right? Because she just never touches the throttle on it. And we just go take it for a rip and give her an oil change, give it back to her. She'd be like, "It just always feels so much better after you guys used it." It was great. It was great. It was just the funniest. It just reminds me of that. It reminds me of that because it was still in '91. It was still a Fox Body, so those were cool cars. I remember the old 5-liter Mustangs. They were fun. They were a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're fun. I got, like I said, that one's a drag car. You pop the hood, and I mean, like, it's meant to like all the patina and stuff, and then you pop the hood, and it's like this super shiny, nice engine, and it's kind of a cool thing. And then my other one is that red hood on the wall. It's out of the car that's off of is out in my trailer, and it's a really mint 85 jalapeno red 2-owner car. Garage kept its whole life, and then it gets this nice new Ford Coyote 5-liter out of a pickup truck with a big turbo on it. And so you pop the hood on that one, and it's like, oh man, it's still a 5-liter, but it's modernized, right?
Wow,
but
you're going full bore. You got all kinds of stuff going on. Wow, that's pretty cool.
I do, but I'm kind of honestly at the point now where like I'm kind of sick of it. Like I like building cars with people. I don't like building cars by myself anymore. So I want to go travel. I want to go to South America, and I want to live in the van. You know, I got a van build I'm doing with a Cummins swap right now and an MV 4500 5-speed and 4-wheel drive and all that. So I want to just build that thing, have my hot rod van, and go south and go live in Costa Rica or something for like 5 or 6 years. Because I don't know. Wow. I don't enjoy it anymore, man. Like I know what you're talking about when you say like the passion dwindles when you're, working on cars all the time. And, when I got to come home after work or I do whatever, and I got to work on these cars and stuff. Like if I have friends around and I'm drinking beer with friends and I'm hanging out and it's a communal thing, I love it. Anything. But by myself, I don't enjoy it as much anymore. Maybe I'm getting old.
Yeah, well, I mean, just you have the passion. I mean, I lost the passion because I started doing it professionally, and the thing about working on cars professionally is you hope that everything that comes in the door comes in stock, like absolutely dead stock. Like that's all you want.
The wiring or trying
Nobody's messed with it. Like I hate looking at wiring diagrams and going, okay, where's the blue wire? Oh no, somebody's been in here, and things get real messy real fast when it's got aftermarket stuff. And trying to explain to people, I know you're trying to like improve the thing, but you made it worse. Like they're like, I didn't. You don't know what you're talking about. Okay, well, go to a different professional then. I don't know what to say. So yeah, we run into that a lot. I prefer to just work on people's cars that are just regular cars because there's way less mucking around and there's way more money to make. You know what I mean? Just fixing people's cars that just want their. That's the other thing. A lot of people that fix their own cars, when they bring it to the mechanic, they want a discount.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's crazy. It's, I know what I'm doing here, and I got the job half done. It's like, dude, there's like that old sign that says, usually on mechanics walls, that says like, here's my rate, and then here's my rate if you've worked on it. Here's my rate if you try to give me any advice, and here's my rate if you're trying to watch over my shoulder or trying to on the car every couple hours.
We just turn cars away. We actually do at our shop.
Yeah.
But it's because we're too busy. Like we're in a situation right now where there are not enough technicians, like licensed technicians in our area in all of Canada. And if you're screwing around and you're nickel and diamond and you're talking price, most mechanic shops nowadays are just like, yeah, just don't come back. We don't want to see you again.
Yeah. I gotta go use the washroom here.
No problem.
I'm gonna stay and go as you please.
I'm gonna keep up with the chat. Clyde, do you have to conceal the Asahi can? Just wondering. No, this is Tanner's channel, and he has beers on his channel. I normally don't have beers because I'm pretty contentious when it comes to the mainstream narrative, and I talk news and politics. So I do everything that I can to make sure that I don't get kicked off of YouTube. I know at some point they're probably going to want to get rid of me as the channel grows. So I do my best to make sure they don't have an excuse to do that. Will there be an event to celebrate the first year anniversary of the convoy? Some people are in the talks of doing that, so I'll keep you posted as much as I know about stuff. I don't think anything's public yet, and I don't think anyone's really on one page. I don't want to be an organizer, so that's why I'm not playing that role with that. Clyde, you rule. No, you rule. You're breathtaking. Under the radar. I'm not sure that another convoy would be good to watch. Yeah, another convoy would be good to watch, but we saw what happened to the last one, so let's try to avoid that. Wobbly pops. That's what I call them on my channel. We go on my channel, Tanner. When I do my live streams, I tell the audience, okay, I'm not drinking beers, but come into the Discord afterwards, and I'll have some wobbly pops with you.
Oh yes, I know. I've heard that. I heard that. That's how he disguises his beer drinking.
Yeah, wobbly pops.
Wobbly pops.
Wobbly pops. Did I say it weird? I don't have a very Canadian accent.
No, I say it weird. I put an A in front of everything. So you said wobbly pops. I'm like wobbly pops.
Wobbly pops.
You're like Trudeau. I'm like Trado.
No, it's funny though, because I used to get that a bunch where people would say, "Oh, you don't have much of a Canadian accent," but I grew up in border towns my whole life, so kind of, I don't know. I like JJ McCullough. You ever watch that YouTube channel?
No.
JJ McCullough's a conservative YouTuber. I don't know how conservative he is.
Sounds familiar though.
He's like BuzzFeed. But I honestly I think he hams up the Canadian accent. He says a boot like a boot all the time, and he's from like the West Coast, and you just never hear that.
Well, it was weird when I was down in Kentucky a couple weeks ago. Everywhere I went, people were calling me out. They're like, "You from Canada?" I'm like, "How the fuck do you know that?" What's going on?
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
And like I seem like I'm more kind of like friendly and happier than everybody. I'm walking up like, "How the fuck are you?" Or "How are you?" I'm doing that kind of stuff. And then people are just like, they're kind of like, "I'm good." And they're like, "I've never had somebody ask me that before." I'm like, "Really?" You hold doors for people and stuff. Like they're just right away. They're like, "This guy's."
People in Montana don't do that?
No, this was in Kentucky.
Oh, in Kentucky.
Did I say Montana?
Maybe I misheard.
I was in Montana, and Montana people are very much like Canadians, but they're also fairly grumpy down there. Like, for example, if I try to hitchhike in Canada, I get picked up in 20 minutes. If I try to hitchhike in Montana, people are just like really mad. They're look grumpy and stuff. I'm like, I don't understand. Maybe they're grumpy because Joe Biden's building back better right now, and they're in a weird transitionary phase.
Maybe they were picking people up when Trump was president. I don't know.
Well, then Canadians should be grumpy too, then, because they got that one fella around in the country there. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think we got something to be grumpy about, and it's been too long. we're waiting for the next one. That will be the we don't know yet when that's going to happen. Got how do you say that? Scoby or yeah, Scoby in the
Scobie.
chat says Clyde, you should shotgun one of those Japanese wobbly pops. Not happening. Holy cow!
Scobie is Ian.
Oh,
Fella's
he's
name's
Ian.
Ian. His name's
Oh,
Ian.
okay. Well,
He
thanks
came to
thanks for
one
the
of my
comment,
parties.
Ian. But not happening. Not happening. No way.
He can definitely
I'm a
shotgun one of them.
sipper. I like to sip my wobbly pops. Yep, you
Yeah,
said it right, Scoby. There we go.
I'm an animal. I don't know why I can't just honestly I'll try to drink a couple beer and then shotgun, but sometimes if I show up to the party late, I'll shotgun like 4 beers back to back to get in the vibe. But I don't
Yeah,
know, it's
yeah. If you're
weird.
trying to get in the vibe, but like I don't know, it's a Wednesday and I got to work tomorrow.
Take her easy, man. Take her
I'm
easy.
taking her easy. I gotta make videos in the morning at like 4 a.m. So like this is my gig. This is how I roll. Honestly, I'm an old guy. I'm a 40-year-old man. Give me a break.
A real boomer.
I save it until we go to the bush. That's the beer drinking time. When
Yeah,
I
that's
grew up in
good.
Ontario, right? So it was this weird thing where, um, when I first moved to BC, I thought it was weird. Everyone's camping all the time because people drink out of cans. Because in Ontario, everyone drank from bottles, but you only drank from cans if you went camping because it was just easier to pack around cans. You can crush them and take them with you. But in BC, everyone drinks from cans. Nobody drinks from bottles. I don't know why that's a thing. It's just a thing.
I got a hippie buddy who drinks from kegs because it's more sustainable, he says.
Anyway, you gotta justify it, brother.
He likes the kegs. He'll pound a keg back.
Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, you justify it, man. That's great.
Yeah.
Bottles taste better. I'll concede to that one. It is true. I've been drinking bottled beer lately. Of course, I have a can today, but yeah, I've been enjoying the beer out of the bottles. It does taste better. The boomer here, Tanner, LOL. What's BC again? Birmingham country. No, British Columbia. Do you have a big
County?
I don't know. Maybe that's a joke I didn't get. The old pony kegs. So the pony kegs, I had a lot of friends that used to brew their own beer, and they'd have pony kegs all the time. And a pony keg is like a small one. I think I don't know how many liters. It's like a 30 liter or something like that.
Yeah.
The little ones.
Those little guys that are like this.
Yeah, because you could buy the ones that have a pop top on them, so you can fill them yourself and then close them.
Mm-hmm.
But
Need more
the
of them in
big,
my life.
yeah, the big kegs, you can't do that. You have to go get them filled at a professional facility. I made the mistake of buying kegs before, and I bought like craft beer, like local brewery stuff. And dude, like I don't know, I'm sure people love craft beers and they'll give me shit for this, but craft beer gives me hangovers, man.
It's
like
strong shit, man.
like something else. Like there's something in it, and you're just like, oh, the next day, just kick the crap out of you.
Dude, I drink 4 of these, or I drink 4 beer from my local brewery, and buddy, those 4 beer from the local brewery, they put me to bed. They tuck me into a nap. Yep.
And then like some of the brewmasters, you ask them like, so what's the actual percentage of it? And they're like, it's about 8%. Like I thought you have to know this to sell the stuff legally. Yeah, it's about there. It's around there.
Okay.
You test it, and it's like wine.
So, what kind of time you working with here? You got a little more time? You want to get going
I got
soon?
time. I got time. We can hang.
Okay. So let's talk about our pal there, our old pal there, Jeremy McKenzie. What happened with him there and what he said and what we think about that. That was pretty.
That's an interesting one to bring. Okay, so
Yeah,
I did a video. Because I felt like kind of compelled to do a video about everybody just walking away from that one, right? Everybody stepped back. And but the thing is, I do a daily news show, and everybody looks to me for what's happening in Canada, and I'm like, okay, well, this kind of put me on the spot. I feel like I have to address this one. So I had been in contact with Jeremy, and I tried to contact him. Said like I didn't see what he did and what he said, but I saw the message from Pierre Pauliev, and I was like,
Same.
"Whoa, this is big." So I messaged him right away and said, "What is this about? Um, what's going on?" And then I didn't hear back. And then I messaged him later in the day via email, a different sort method of reaching him, and said the same thing. Like, dude, this looks like a big deal. I don't know what's going on. And then later I found out what it was, and I'm like, that's bad. That's really bad. Now,
Yeah, I went into it.
well, what do you have to say so far? I mean, I'll talk more on it, but
My situation was the same thing. I seen Pierre's thing on Instagram, and I was like, I'm like, what's this all about? I'm like, this is a big deal if this is true. So then I find the live stream that he did and how he said it, and I was like, I didn't want to believe it. I'm like, dude, like, because I believe Pierre's like, I don't get with this stuff where he's, you know, the World Economic Forum puppet and all that stuff. So I'm like, why is he saying this? I'm like, and then again, I'm like, I'm gonna have to see proof, because like I know Jeremy is into extreme comedy. He says crazy stuff, and you know, I know that it is possible for him to go over that line. And then I see the live stream, like he went over that line. When I heard it, I was like, holy shit, dude. But I when they were framing it as an assault or like a threat, and that's how they were framing it, I was like, man, he's got dark comedy, and like what he did was super not cool and super like horrible to say, especially in his position when you have Vets for Freedom behind him and James Top in a sense, and they've been in each other, you know, they've talked back and forth and all that stuff. Then he goes and does that. It's like there is a line. There really is a line, and he crossed it. And I was like, man, that was the dumbest thing you could have done with all that liberal media on you. You know, they've been waiting ever since that Diagolon thing, which Diagolon, man, hands down, funny as shit. But,
it was
you know,
too funny. It was
yeah, and
too
then they're
funny.
on him for that. Like Rachel Gilmore, people like that are just, they're on him. Like they're like attack dogs. And like for him to say that was the dumbest thing he could have ever done, in my opinion.
Well, absolutely. And here's the thing. So, like, I didn't watch a lot of Jeremy's content. I saw, you know, clips from him. I watched bits of his stream before I went live because he often streamed around the same time as I did. I can't watch his stuff with the kids in the room, and this is part of why I do the things the way I do it. I want people to be able to watch my videos with their kids in the room and be able to watch the video and be okay with that, right? So
Yeah.
this is why I keep my content clean, all of that. So I have like a particular brand that I'm going for, and you know, whatever, do your thing. If you want to be allowed, like a loudmouth and swear and all that stuff, that there's a place for that, and that's definitely what he was doing there. Um, that joke, when he went into that joke, I don't find that funny. I just don't find that funny. So, and I've heard a lot of people say, well, you don't know, you don't get the nuance, you don't get what's going on with the joke, and I follow a lot of comedians that are funny that make, you know, jokes about rape.
Well, he's talking
Um,
about being like a control thing. Like, and you know,
okay,
he just,
so there's a difference, right? So I think like because people were comparing like Louis C.K. and uh, Ricky Gervais and stuff. I think what's really funny about Ricky Gervais and Louis C.K. as those as an example is one thing that they like to do is they'll dance on that line. They'll get really close to that line in comedy where you're just about to cross it, and what they'll do is they'll get so close, and then they suggest that you're the one that crossed the line, and that's kind of the punchline in their joke. You know, get really really close to being offensive, and then and then and then call out the audience for having thought of the thing that was offensive, even though they kind of insinuated and brought you too close to that point. And that's where their comedy is. They don't ever like go at it from the perspective of a person who wants to commit that thing, and that being the joke. And I think that's where it really crossed the line and went too far. And whatever, like if that's the comedy and that's the way they do things, and if people think that's funny, I don't think it's funny. I didn't think it was funny, and maybe there was more context afterwards. But at the end of the day, if you heard a person on the internet, say you don't know a person at all, and you're a public figure or whatever, and you hear somebody say those things about you or your wife in a clip, your first instinct is going to be screw that guy, right? Like if you didn't know who he was. So, I mean, I can understand Pierre Pauliev being like, who's this guy and what did he say? Like not knowing who he is, and people say like you don't know who he is, that you're out to lunch. Maybe, maybe he looked into who he is only briefly because of Rachel Gilmore's article previously, where there was a photograph of them together at a convention. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if you heard that, you might be like, no, that's way too far. And I'm not saying that that kind of speech should be illegal, but it is kind of dancing on that line of issuing a threat, right? It's not issuing a threat. I don't think it was issuing a threat, but it's dancing on that line of it. You know what I mean? And I think that's where there's a bit of, you know, it's really bad. Other than that, I think it was, I mean, it was off base for everybody who was involved with Jeremy, and everybody who's publicly like kind of stuck their neck out for him. And I think that's where the real hurt is. I think the real hurt is in a lot of people who are like, hey, you know, I stuck my neck out for this guy, and this is what he does publicly. Like, that sucks. Why would you do that to people? And then you know, write a Substack and not apologize, but just like, you know, try to justify it or whatever. And yeah, I can't get behind what he said. And like, it's just, man, it's just such a bad situation. So when I made my video about it, I tried to be as impartial as I could. I'm like, okay, here's the deal. Here's what he said. Here's what Pierre Pauliev said about it. Here's what other people who were known to be associated with him have said publicly. And then here's, because he never reached back to me. Here's what he wrote in his Substack. I tried to just do it as impartially as possible, and I gave a little bit of my opinion at the end, saying that doesn't sound like an apology, and that sucks. That wasn't what it was. You know what I mean? And that was kind of my take on it. And so I put it out there just because I knew people would ask me about it. I'm like, I'm reluctantly making this video. I did not want to do it, right? So I put it out there, and you know, for everybody that I was associated with, I sent out all the information for them to weed through on their own, and said, here it is. If you know your audiences ask you to comment on it, here's everything I know. Like, here you go. And Viva Fry, he said, I don't really feel like I need to comment on this. And he just tweeted out my video, and he said, you know, this is what Clyde said, and I kind of agree with that. That's kind of where it landed.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were shocked.
I think it's just disappointment, man. It's really a much more of a disappointment thing.
Yeah, because like I said, you have Vets for Freedom behind you, you know, I mean, and you have, you know, you've had James Top on your show and stuff like that. And I mean, these are people in a movement that are trying to fight for our freedoms, and the government overreach and trying to change things. And then, you know, I mean, it just, you go and you make a gaffe like that and a clown like that. And I mean, it's shocking. It is. I mean, like, you know, when the media is watching you, like they're watching you, they want you, they want anything they can, you know? And I mean, you know, he says, oh, I was drunk, but it's like, that doesn't matter. I mean, if you're saying stuff like that, you know, when you put it in that context, like how do you think it's going to go any other way, you know?
Yeah, that hurt, right? So like, what was it? Somebody put out a meme saying that I threw Jeremy under the bus, and they put the war campaign symbol on the meme, and I cropped it and I sent it right to Ro, and I'm like, hey, is this how you feel about the situation? Let me know. And he called me on the phone. He's like, I don't feel that way. And I publicly said to everybody who's like, you guys take your own take on this situation. Don't put my name on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't feel that way. I don't think you threw him under the bus. You know what I mean? So, and I don't feel like I threw Jeremy under the bus. I feel like I was trying my best to just report the situation. Like I think it was an ugly situation and it shouldn't have happened, like straight up. But tried my best to just convey that to people because like people were obviously looking for a reliable source that they could trust on what actually went down, like what actually happened. And they're not going to trust the media. They're not going to read some Rachel Gilmore uh, article about it and believe that. So I honestly felt like I had a compulsion, or like a duty to actually report on it. As horrible as that sounds.
I know I feel the same way, and that's why I bring it up because, I mean, don't trust the media establishment, the legacy media, and when they talk about it, that's why when it first came up, I was like, really, and I'm like, well, I think this is something we should talk about because there is a lot of perspective here, and context to why it's not okay and why, when you have that many people backing you and that many people supporting you through this movement, they're going to use every bit they can to try to label us as extremists, as racist, as misogynistic, especially as they've said before. So if they can cling on to something, and we weren't giving them anything. I mean, during the convoy, that's why
Mm-hmm.
they tried to incite violence. They tried to incite any little thing they could. So knowing that and knowing where he comes from to go down that avenue and to, bring this up is like super unexpected, super big letdown. Because
Well,
I
and
did
this,
like his content before. I mean, I watched him and I liked the Diagolon thing. I thought that was super hilarious and
I thought it was
clever.
funny. I thought it was
It,
funny. I
it
mean,
was.
like I said, it's for what I try to put out there. It's a lot more like on the vulgar side. Like I said, I try to make my stuff family friendly. Like you can turn my videos on with your kids in the room. That's the approach I try to take, and that's the approach I'm going to stick with, right? But um, yeah, I mean, here this is actually a testament to the crappy part about censorship and alt platforms. So, and this is what happens a lot is somebody will get censored from whatever major platform, and then they end up on an alt platform, and then it actually creates the echo chambers that people are talking about. So you'll only have a portion of your audience follow you in, and it'll often be the ones that are more willing to have like, oh, okay, we're now on an alt platform, so we can go a little bit more extreme with it, and then that kind of feeds in on itself, and you see it happen often in cases like not just Jeremy, but like other cases where you get these groups that get kicked off of a main platform and then they end up in some other little circle in some offshoot, and it fills with like more stuff because there's a lot less people that are willing to say like, oh, okay, hey, but that's maybe reel it back a little bit. You get a lot more people that are willing to go that step further on alt platforms, and it's just the nature of how things work on the internet that I found anyway. And this is why I try to be mainstream about the stuff that I do. Like I'm vanilla toast. Like you could people call me that or whatever. Like use it as an insult all you want, but I want to be able to reach the biggest audience possible because I feel like the message that I'm putting out there is so important that I don't want it to be limited to a tiny place. So that's why I conduct myself in the way that I do, and I make sure that my content isn't too niche for a niche group, like saying this is vulgar content or whatever. Like only vulgar people can be here and enjoy this content, that kind of thing. Because if you try to jump in and out of that range, and by bringing going in and doing vulgar content, but then going on uh, becoming part of like these other mainstream things or hanging out with James Top or something like that, you got to understand like that the vulgarity might end up tarnishing the people that you're looking up to and trying to associate with at some point, and it's really unfortunate what happened.
Yeah, it is. So with your game with YouTube, do you like you're taking the proper route? Everything you're doing, I respect and I enjoy and I take my hat off to you. Your future goals of the YouTube though, are you planning on trying to grow this thing and take it full time and quit your day job at some point, or
I
what's
love my
your?
day job. I like my day job. I want to keep my day job. I really do. And I think where people go bad, and don't get me wrong, if you reach a certain level, go full time. But I've seen it time and time again where people prematurely try to go full time, and then it becomes a thing where, oh, now I'm reliant on this, and now I got to do the things that I think will work for the algorithm and all that stuff, and then you end up feeding a beast, and it becomes the death of you. You know what I mean? Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah, it does. Yeah,
And I think by keeping my day job, it keeps what I do um more significant to what I'm trying to do, or like maybe that I just doubled on what I was saying. By keeping my day job, it keeps me focused on what I care about, rather than what maybe I think that the algorithm cares about and how I can make money on it. And if I got to a certain level where I'm like, I'm definitely at a point where it's growing and growing, and I need to focus more energy and more time. Maybe at a point go um, a little few less hours at work, kind of thing. But I want to keep myself grounded in reality as long as possible. Like if it does take off and goes crazy, then yeah, okay. Well, I'll have to focus all my time on it. But I would definitely want to keep myself grounded for as long as I possibly can.
yeah. It's interesting because I mean you're almost at 100,000 subs, and I think you're going to cross that mark here in the next couple months or so.
Maybe
Depending.
maybe by New Year's, I'm hoping. Yeah, I'd like to get that plaque. It's been one of those things that I've always wanted to get. It's a prestigious thing, a threshold that you get to. I kind of fear the day that I get there though, like because then it's like, oh well, I got there, and it's so much farther away to the next milestone that it's like I don't care anymore. I mean, it's not that I won't care about the channel, but I won't care about milestones anymore.
Well, I think you will. I think the YouTube, honestly, the way it works these days, like it's a controversial subject, but I feel that there are systems in place that allow you to grow in stages to make sure you're producing good content, you're getting good audience retention, you're providing people with what they want to see, and you're always constantly growing. And then the first prestige, I mean, you're 100,000 subs to get your plaque, and then after that, I mean, you set the bar higher or you don't, and it all depends on what you're doing, and you get rewarded accordingly. Um,
But
and
I've seen channels that had huge numbers and don't get a lot of views. I mean,
yeah,
that's
no, I
reality
know
too.
of channels with almost 1 million subs that get like 12 to 20,000 views on a video, which is, and I know channels with, I know a couple car YouTubers that I hang out with. One of them, he just crossed 100,000 sub mark, and I mean, he gets on average 50 to 100,000 views. I mean, it's crazy. Like his audience engagement and support is just huge. So, he's just going like this. He's scaling up all the time. But yeah, then I've seen
Yeah.
these YouTubers that have
It,
half a
it
million
depends
subs.
on what I cover. Sometimes I cover stories and people just are not interested. So, like I talked about Elon Musk taking over Twitter, and nobody cares.
I enjoyed that update today. Actually, that was today,
Well,
right?
well, I'm glad you enjoyed it because not
Oh, I really did.
not a lot of people that had it offered up to them took my video as a choice to hear about Elon Musk. But I mean, I'm not bitter about it. I just know, like, okay, well, when I make a video like that, it's not going to get a lot of engagement, but I care about that. So I'm still going
Same.
to talk about it. It's one of
So,
those things where I need to get it off my chest because if I don't make the video about it, I'll just keep thinking about it. So I'll make the video and then it's off my mind and then I can move on to the next thing. So I'm like, I'm still going to do it.
well, I feel like a lot of people made an 86 DD Speed Shop. You know who I'm talking about.
1 second. I gotta grab another beer and I'll be right back.
You get another one of them boy howdies in you. Canceled. We got some comments here. Thanks for coming out tonight, everybody. This is great. Want to do this for a long time. This is a fun one. It's been really good so far. Ellie 88, Tanner, Whitney, and Bella, my neighbors. Woohoo! You rock. You rock too, Ellie. Even at the end of your channel gets ghosted right away. Yeah. Align those headlights. They're a little off. Eh? I'm glad you noticed that. CB fixes all. Shout out to you, boys. Shout out, Anonymous. Thanks for being here, as you always are. Totally love what you bring to us, Clyde. Respect. Love, Clyde. And YouTube's throttling back your views. Possible. Also, the fact that I've changed what I'm posting, what I'm talking about, going more vlog-style car stuff. YouTube, I don't know if it's as much. It's partially YouTube, but it's also like my core audience follow me for the convoy. So if I'm doing less convoy related content, I understand that my viewership is not nearly as high as my demographic was. My growing stage was convoy related, freedom related content. Timo Rich, Tanner followed you since a convoy. Thank you so much for all your support. Loved your True Glue instructional slam vid. That was fun. And hey, Jero, found your channel through a mention from Peg. Thank you for coming over here and subscribing. Peg's a beauty. Peg has done some shout outs in his videos. He's a YouTuber, a Canadian YouTuber, content producer that I look up to. And he makes really good content. So if you haven't ever checked out Zip Ties and Bias Plies, go check him out because that guy is an absolute beauty. Have you heard of him?
No, I like the name. That's a really great name.
He's funny, man. He's a funny
Zip
guy.
Ties and Bias Flies. I like that.
He's up in northern Alberta, and
he's a wheeler.
Yeah, he just makes crazy videos of him. Like, he has this old 7.3 Ford truck that he always starts with ether in the middle of, like, minus 40 winters.
That makes sense with the name, yeah.
Yeah, he just loads it in there with ether, and the thing's clacking to life. And then it lives through it many videos at a time. It's so funny. How much
That's
ether
great.
you can actually spray into an old 7.3 and it will just take it.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I've heard stories of them becoming what do you say, like addicted to ether. Like they become dependent. Like you have to. they won't start on anything else.
Yeah.
Those old engines, old diesels. I haven't worked on an old diesel in forever. Everything's common rail these days.
Yeah, they are. Everything's common rail. They had another injection system they went to there on the Fords for a while, which was not common rail, but something else.
They probably just called it something else. It's common rail.
It's all common rail since the 6-liter, isn't it?
Yeah, you talking about the, what is it, the 6.4, the one that it was high pressure oil instead of high pressure. Yeah, it's not technically common rail, but it's a high pressure system that works the same as common rail.
Strange.
Yeah. So like if you look at how the injectors work, it works the same. It's no different. So like in a common rail system, the pressurized diesel that goes at the back, like what's pushing on the diesel fuel inside the injection inside the injector that actually gets injected, the diesel on the backside of it, it never goes into the engine.
Interesting.
It gets exhausted back into the tank, and then there's like two sides of an injector on a common rail diesel. On those Fords, instead of pressurized diesel on the back, it was pressurized oil. So there's a high pressure oil pump instead of a high pressure fuel pump. It was almost a better system. Like if you think about it,
HPLPs, yeah.
If you think about it, like it was a pretty ingenious system because if it ever ran low on oil, it would stall.
Yeah, that's right.
But it had a problem where it would leak diesel into the oil, and then the oil would overflow, and that was an issue that they had.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting seeing diesels these days. I mean, you got like a factory Cummins or a Duramax. It makes 1,100 foot-pounds of torque and 500 horsepower, and it has all these emissions. I mean, which comes with its flaws. There's a lot of complaints.
That's what happens when you can do multiple injections per stroke, though. Like it is the evolution of engine technology when it comes to 4-stroke engines. I mean, As much as a lot of people don't like it, electric motors are so much more efficient. Like they just are. They are.
Can't
Straight
deny
up.
it. You
They
can't deny
are.
it.
No. But I mean, four-stroke engines are super cool. Diesels or gasoline or whatever. They're super cool. They're fun to play with. Um, but yeah, the three-phase AC motor is just so much more efficient. Or else we would have been using diesels on conveyors and stuff at the mines. You know what I mean? I used to work as a millwright in the mining industry, and everything's electric motors.
Yeah, and I guess if you want to go everything electric, I mean, I don't believe it's going to happen in the timeline they're telling us, but you know,
No.
it's efficient. But I mean, there's no way you're doing that by 2035. I don't
No,
think
it's
so.
stupid. It's stupid what they're doing. Like there are places in the country that are cold. So a friend of mine has a Tesla, fully charged, and it's -10, and it says 45% charged. Like this is this is the way it is, right?
That's what
And
batteries do.
I'm just going on what my friend tells me, right? Batteries don't have full capacity when they're cold.
No.
And when you're in -40, you're not getting anywhere. You're not
No,
getting anywhere. And what are you
she's
going to do?
been
Run a
getting cold.
heater circuit to heat the battery up ahead of time? Well, that uses the battery power. What's the purpose of that? You know, and there's no battery power to run the heater circuit. You know what I mean? So I think the solution down the road would be to have high efficient, either diesel electric, or they have these new hydrogen on demand cells where they use some sort of biofuel and then it produces hydrogen locally, and then have like a hybrid of like a Tesla with they have some really new cool battery tech coming out, and I can't wait to see the spiral core battery cells. Really cool stuff. But if you ran either diesel or whatever, uh, some sort of engine that would generate power when it's needed, I mean, all of our problems would go away in in the electric car market. And
Yeah, not just pure electric.
no, diesel electric. And you know what?
Yep.
You could have it plug
Yep.
in and never have the thing fire up. You'd have to use all kinds of fuel stabilizers and stuff like that. No, like you really would have to, because fuel can't just sit in an engine or in a in a tank and just sit there for ages and not be used. So you'd have to have some sort of cycle on it where it would actually use the fuel that's in there, monitor it somehow. But I think the long-term best strategy would be to go with like fully electric within tiny radiuses, and then uh, go diesel electric for most other applications. And then, you
Yeah.
could go the route like Germany's going with like some of their electric trucks. They're setting up lines that they hook up to when they go on to the interstates or whatever, the highways system. So
Oh,
they
really?
yeah, they'll run off battery until they get onto it, and then there'll be like a thing that raises up and touches two wires, and
Like the
then it gives
buses in
them.
Vancouver.
No, I don't want to give that example because those are the worst. The stuff falls off all the time. No, like the trains in Tokyo. And if anybody who's listening to this is curious, Google the trains in Tokyo, just a picture of a train in Tokyo, and you'll see that there's a bar that goes up, and it's like spring loaded, and it pushes up against these two wires. And there's a friction bar on it, so the bar wears down and not the wire, and that's what hooks them up. They don't have the third rail in Tokyo like subways. The third rail is the electric rail.
Well, if I remember how to use this thing properly, I can bring up a window of a train.
Chris Crowell is saying, "I'm listening and quickly losing respect." Lol. So
Respect.
you see the wires on that image. Go back to the green and gray train.
Can I zoom in on that?
I don't know if you can. There you go. So you can see there's the wires above the train.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to see how they connect, but like sort of in the every periodically, there's an arm that comes up and it's kind of just touching those wires.
So my interest in electric is the idea that, like, if you look at battery technology in the past 10 years, how it's compounded, how much better it's gotten, like it is to be expected that battery technology and how we produce it or how we mine it or how we get it is going to get better as the petrol industry has through its whole life cycle. But I just don't believe that it's going to happen by 2035.
No, it
And
won't.
killing us in our petrol industry and shutting down our refineries and the pipelines and all that is the dumbest thing that we could ever do. And, you know, we could be super sustainable off this stuff for a long time to come, especially the process that it's in now. And we could make the transition over a longer period of time, but it just seems super unrealistic to me.
It is super unrealistic. It is really, really unrealistic. It's almost as if they're trying to get things to fail so they could have a big reset or something.
If you if you want to get into the conspiracies, the theory side of things, you could definitely say that.
So Germany really shit the bed. To get clean energy, they went off nuclear, which is clean energy. I mean, it's just clean. There's nothing cleaner. I mean, yeah, there's the nuclear waste issue, but we're dealing with that. We're coming up with new methods and strategies for getting rid of nuclear waste. Now, you can't just turn off a nuclear plant, just like lights off. Okay, let's go on to the next thing. No, it takes about 2 years to get off of nuclear. Like when you have a nuclear plant running, it takes about 2 years to like finish up your fuel cycle. So you can't just fire it back up either, right? You got all these people you've laid off. You don't have any of the fuel, all this stuff to get that going takes, again, like a good 2 years. So what they've done is they've got rid of that in favor of having renewable. They call them renewables, and that's wind and solar. So wind and solar can produce not enough energy that for you to need, and then the rest. And when it's not sunny and when it's not windy, you rely on natural gas. That's the strategy, liquid natural gas, LNG. And where do you get that? You get it from Russia if you're in Germany. And if you know what, we could definitely send them liquid natural gas from our end if we had the capabilities of it. But we had a prime minister who scrapped that plan and worked as hard as he could to stop us from being able to revive it.
Oh God.
And things were looking up for Germany because they were making negotiations with Russia to talk peace deal. And well, the Russians' negotiation chip, the chip they had on the table for negotiating, was blown up in the sea. So
yeah, what do you think about that? How do you think that went down?
How do you think how it went down?
Well,
The
some
US
people are
took
saying
it
it's
out.
Putin. Some people are saying it's the other fellers. I mean,
There's no reason why Putin would do that. It was a negotiation chip. Why would he? If you had a
yeah,
negotiation,
why wouldn't he just shut it down, right?
well, it
If
was
he
shut down.
wanted to do that.
It was already shut down.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was already shut down. There was nothing
That's how much
flowing.
I know.
So there's nothing flowing, and it was a negotiation chip to say we'll turn it on for you, Germany, if you do peace talks. And they're like, okay, well maybe we'll start doing peace talks. And as soon as they said that, it blew up. Yeah, that
Escalating
happened.
it.
Yeah, and well, and we also have Biden on the record saying if if Putin ever invaded Ukraine, they would blow up the Nord Stream pipeline. Or no, he didn't say they would blow it up. He said we would take care of it.
Oh wow, really?
I think that's what he said. And then someone asked, like, what do you mean by that? And he says, we would put an end to it.
No, that
So, I
doesn't
mean,
sound obvious at all.
it doesn't sound obvious at all. I mean, like, and I'm not speculating. Oh, I'm speculating, but like I'm not saying one thing happened or whatever, but I mean, just if you just look at it, it looks like we know who did it. You know what I mean? Oh, and the other thing was that there was reported the U.S. military was testing unmanned underwater vehicles about a week before that happened in the region.
You're like, why are we escalating this thing? Like, why are we so involved in like, like it?
Why was there weapons of mass destruction when there wasn't? Why did we go into Afghanistan when that wasn't what was going on there? There's a lot of money to be made in war, man. I can't wait until the conservatives get into government, and then I can just be the anti-war guy again. You know what I mean? It's yeah, there's a lot of money to be made in war. It's crazy. And
Yeah.
we went. It wasn't popular to be in that war in Afghanistan anymore. It was 20 years. It was already at the point where soldiers were fighting in the same war that their fathers fought in.
Crazy.
Right? So they're like, oh, there's no more popularity for this one. I think we sucked that one dry. Let's and how funny is it that the war ended and then like a month later we were donating all of our spare money to the Ukraine for the war effort there.
Yeah, dude, I had a guy come up to me in Ottawa, and I have a video on my channel, which was pretty funny, of like a guy coming up, and we're like protesting in Ottawa, and we're going off, and we're just standing there after the convoy got broken up. We're down by the Holocaust Museum, and this guy comes up and he's screaming at us, calling us all these names and stuff, and he's like, "You guys are complete morons. You don't realize how good you have it in Canada. You could be like Ukraine, and you could be this and that." And I'm just like, "Oh my god!" Like,
but that's the argument, right? That's the argument you were giving. You know how good we have it in Canada? Let's keep it that way. Let's not make it as bad as Ukraine. Let's not make it as bad as these places that you say are backwards. Why would I be fighting there? They already have it bad. The people didn't fight, and now they're immigrating over here because it's too far gone. Of course I want to fight for it here. So you gave me the argument. You gave me the argument, guy on the street telling me that I shouldn't be fighting for it.
He pulled up in his car and he's like, "You guys are effing idiots and this and that and all morons." And I'm like, let me have a chance to say something back to you. And he just took off and the light went green. He was super nervous, but he was like going on about how lucky we are and all this. I'm like, dude, like you're supporting liberal government who's trying to take our guns away, and then you're sending guns to another country. You're like, oh, well, they need guns. It's like, why do you think they need guns? Like, it's so crazy.
Why do you think they need
formulate
guns?
that kind of thinking?
Why do you think they need guns? Maybe they need to protect themselves.
Yeah, that's why we have
novel idea. That's a novel idea, isn't it?
Oh, and then you're watching like I mean, like everything that's been going on lately, like you're watching Marco Mendocino and like or Mendocino, whatever the hell his name is, the minister of whatever the hell there.
Pinocchio. Yeah,
Pinocchio. There you go. He got his nose is just getting big, but I mean, everything from like the handgun freeze, the national handgun freeze, and how now he's backtracking and saying, "Oh, we're trying to educate ourselves on it." Then you got him talking about the Emergencies Act and stuff, and him not wanting, or them going off police advice to invoke the Emergencies Act, and then backtracking and saying that's not what he meant. It's like, how does this government stay together, and how do people actually even look at these guys and take them seriously in any way? Blows my mind.
It blows my mind every time. So he, on so many fronts, Marco Mendocino. Yeah, I call him the member of parliament that's never been convicted of a sexual offense, because he was the one who kept saying that there was threats of rape at the convoy, which is completely unfounded. And me saying that he was never convicted of a sexual offense is unfounded, but I mean, he never has been. That's true. But me commenting that way kind of insinuates that maybe he might have been. But no, I definitely say that he has not ever been. But that being said, he's full of lies. He's full of lies. He goes on about the Emergencies Act being requested by the RCMP, by the police, by all of this. He never had any of that happen. We had under oath testimony from Police Chief Sully. We had Interim Police Chief Bell. We had Brenda Lucky, the commissioner for the RCMP, all say, nope, nobody ever asked us if we needed the extra powers of the Emergency Act. They just straight up, he just straight up lied about that. So
yeah, and then he's going off about how he didn't mean it. And all that. I don't know if you posted a video of it or not.
Yeah. Oh, well, they must you misunderstood me when I lied to your face. You misunderstood what I was lying about. I wasn't lying about that. I was talking about something else. What? You didn't get me right.
Yeah, and you look at the compilations of him just straight up saying it like 1,000 times, like nonstop in the House of Commons, being like, "Oh yeah, we've been advised," and he's like, "Well, you guys took it the wrong way." It's like, what? Gaslighting to its extreme.
And then so the guns thing. So now he's saying, well, we didn't mean, we're not trying to take away people's guns. Since 2015, we've made so many guns prohibited just arbitrarily based on the way they look. And now they're trying to put this legislation through to force the provinces to abide by these new laws and go door to door and actually confiscate these firearms from law-abiding citizens. Like this is what's going on in the country, and people don't realize what's actually happening. Now, when Brenda Lucky was asked about particulars about guns, because she was being questioned about what she had done because of that mass shooting that happened in the Maritimes. There was that mass shooting, and apparently there was talks within the Liberal Party and her on how they can politicize that mass shooting right away to try to do gun grabs in Canada. Yep. Now they went and they asked her specific questions on the stand, and you know what her response to questions about the legality of particular things like buying ammunition, giving it to somebody else who has a possession and acquisition license, all of that. She says, "I'm not intimately familiar with the gun laws in Canada." The commissioner of the RCMP, sorry, I almost F-bombed your channel. But like, it's just ridiculous. Law-abiding citizens are supposed to be intimately knowledgeable about the firearms that they own. How does the commissioner of the RCMP not know intimately the laws in Canada, especially when they want to change them constantly? And she's an activist trying to revamp those laws and bring those laws down on Canadians. That is a scandal. That is a massive scandal, and it ought to be focused on. That's a big thing. And Mendocino is perpetuating the same thing. Now Mendocino's in hot water because it turns out he may have, it looks like, this is, I gotta choose my language correctly here. It looks like, and the allegations are that he falsified dates intentionally on court documents in order to defraud some other organization out of using a particular name that was trademarked. So he falsified some documents, allegedly, in order to not have to change his name and force the other entity to change their name for their organization. And this is... Have you ever filled out a legal document where you say, "This, I know this to be true," under threat of like a $500,000 fine or 5 years in jail, that kind of thing?
Yes.
Yeah, well, he allegedly, knowingly, and amongst his staff talked about falsifying dates on a document in order to defraud somebody and presented it to a judge.
No, and like,
that's new. That's new shit. I'm going to be doing a video on it in the morning.
That's interesting because every time he's questioned, I mean, even like Evan on CTV was questioned on this the other day, like, how do you think that attacking the gun-abiding citizens who, like, these stats show isn't going to do anything? Like, how do you think that's, how do you think that works? Like, how do you think that you are able to come after these people and it's not going to actually do anything? There's a border security issue. There's a black market gun issue. And you're attacking gun-abiding citizens, and all he has to say to that is, I spoke with the members of the families of the victims or whatever, And he keeps going back to that, but it's like you don't answer you're just like Trudeau. You don't answer the question. You bounce around it. You use buzzwords. You don't actually talk about the issue. Like it's just political grandstanding and trying to get votes, and possibly trying to take guns away from people who may rebel against you. Who knows?
The way you talk in Ottawa, if you're liberal, is like everything that you would reply to people the way you would reply back for anyone who lives back home in Canada. They reply in the way that we get you smacked in the mouth. Like just straight up. And I'm not advocating violence or anything like that, but the way I try to conduct myself in life is to speak in a way that people wouldn't want to smack me in the mouth. Let's just say that. Like, it's one thing to talk back to somebody, it's one thing to say a thing, but the way they conduct themselves, they just do not answer questions, and they'll just, in passive aggressive ways, go about it in ways like you're describing here. You're asking about why law-abiding citizens should have their rights taken away, and his reply is, well, I talked to the families of the victims of something. That's not an answer to the question.
Well, you're going to hurt families by not actually dealing with the issue. Now you're actually being you're a liar. Like you're actually going to affect those people because you're not going to actually deal with the issue, and it's going to get worse.
Yeah, exactly. You're actually doing them a disservice by not addressing the actual issue, and the issue, if the issue even is illegal guns. Now the thing that they're on about, they keep talking about, is this mass shooting that happened in the Maritimes, and that didn't happen in a case where somebody was buying illegal firearms. He had lawful firearms, but somehow he managed to have like a whole lot of money in a police car all in a short amount of time. It's a really fishy scenario, and a lot of people are not allowed to get into it. And basically all the things that they're going after don't address it. They don't address that. They don't address any of the issues that are actually happening in Canada. We don't have like this huge onslaught of people taking legal firearms and assaulting people with them. The firearms crimes that are happening in Canada are happening with illegal guns. They're happening in the cities. They're happening with guns that are already like massively prohibited or restricted in Canada anyway. So it's a facade. It's BS. They're just going after law-abiding citizens.
Well, this is why, like, I knew this was coming down the line. Back in January or December, I heard Trudeau talking about it, so I stocked myself up with some of my dream handguns before this got into fruition. But, one of the new buzzwords that we're using now is femicide. A fancy word to describe female homicide. And, they say 28, I think it's 28%.
Femicide is a word that they're using?
Yes, Trudeau used this when he implemented the handgun freeze, and it was the 28% of
Is that like people kind? Is that like people kind?
It's like people kind. It's we all used homicide before, but now we're saying femicide because it's female specific. So.
Femicide is not a word. I refuse.
I know
to use it.
But it's a new one. It's a buzzword. We have
this stupid word. It doesn't. Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. But this is the Liberal government, right? And he says 28% of femicides are committed by legal gun-abiding, law-abiding citizens. So
no, they're not.
But apparently, 28% of men who murder their wives are killing them with legally purchased firearms. And if you look into that,
wait a second. Okay, now you've gone into a very, very narrow demographic, right? So you have men who have never committed a crime that murder their wives. How many of those have happened in the recent times? So
there was a low number, but it was 28% of them. And then if you look at him freezing handguns,
it's an interesting book. It's called "How to Lie with Statistics," right?
Yes.
By Daryl Huff.
Yeah.
No, this is really good. This is really good.
Yes.
And it's how you absolutely just BS people with numbers, because that's crap. That's absolute crap.
Yeah, it's like
you're talking about a very, very small population of people. You're talking about Canadian citizens who have murdered their wives that were also who had never committed a crime and have whether they owned legal firearms or whether they used the legally acquired firearms or not. Like, the answer is going to be like 4 in history or something like that.
Yeah, because
right?
these are also we must acknowledge these are also vetted people. They're completely vetted to even own these firearms. But you're implementing a national handgun freeze. You're using this statistic, and even if 28% of them, I mean, within that, those are long
28% is 2 people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was like 2, maybe it was 10 people, but
I don't think it was 10 people. I really think that was 2 people.
It was
I
low,
really
but
think
it wasn't even
they're pulling from a pool.
Handguns, though.
They're pulling from a pool of 10 people, and they're saying, "Oh, 2 of them had legally acquired firearms."
How to lie with statistics? Exactly.
Absolutely, it's stupid. Yeah. It's no, and you got to call that out. You really got to call that out because that is just bullshit. It is. It absolutely is bullshit. No,
but there was long rifles in that. It wasn't even just handguns.
Femicide. This is why we use stupid language. Come on. Yeah. Get out of here with that. Get out of here with that. No, it's stupid. It's no, it's dog shit, man. It's so bad.
Clown world. We're in a clown world.
You know? We are. But that's how you lie with statistics. You change up some of the parameters, so you're talking about a very, very small group of people that and people don't know that. When people hear 28% of a group, they're like, "Oh my God, there's like thousands of that happening." You know what I mean?
They don't know. And the education on guns and the education, like I'm from the liberal side or the left side, it is just guns are bad, ban guns. It's like there's actually no education on it. Like I'm a legal firearms owner, and I went through a background check. I went through training. I lock my guns up. I lock my ammunition up. I mean, there's so much there, and the stats prove that our system works. But there's a reason other countries don't want to implement our kind of system, because you see what happened in Australia and then what's now happening in Canada with it. You give the government that kind of control, and they just kind of come in and start making things up. And, I mean, did you post a video about Alberta's response on this?
Honestly, though, like, listen to this. I could say that 20% of dog owning diabetic Dr. Pepper drinkers have eye problems, and they have severe nearsightedness. Does that mean that people who drink Dr. Pepper have there's some correlation there? No, yeah. I've just made a tiniest demographic of people, dog owning diabetic Dr. Pepper drinkers, and 20% of them are nearsighted to an extreme level. That is just ridiculous. That is a ridiculous statement to make. But it's no less ridiculous than to say that femicides, 20% of femicides, whatever the stupid numbers, man.
Dude, it's insane. It's political.
No, but this is what you need to do to point out how ludicrous this stuff is, right? Give a better example. And I just came up with a brand new one. You know that 80% of statistics are made up on the spot?
80% is really?
I just made that up. So but people will buy it.
Yeah.
People would just buy anything. Honestly, it's crazy. It's crazy. It honestly is.
Which is why it's terrible that, the leader of our country, that's a big name, like the leader of your country, the person that people look to just to be told something and do it. That leader engages in complete divisive rhetoric. And then, that same liberal party controls a media narrative that they've subsidized. And it's like, that's a very, very, very dangerous place to be in a country, in a democracy. That's a very bad place to be.
This is why I exist. And this is why people pay attention to what I do.
100%. Appreciate what you do, man. I mean, like I said, I watch your videos every day. I'm like, what's Clyde got going on?
The more I hear about this stuff, though, the more I hear about what people believe, I'm just like, I got to work harder. I'm not working hard enough.
So why does the liberal government bring in these handgun freezes, AR bans, assault-style weapons? I mean, obviously political grandstanding, trying to buy votes from people who aren't educated properly on the matter, but also maybe is it that they don't want the citizens of the country to be armed with what they're going to try next, or what they're trying to implement? Is it a combination of both?
Okay, that's a hard one. So that's a difficult one. So is it a grandmaster scheme, or is it just the inevitability of the direction that they're headed down, and they just need to pass more stuff in order to get elected? Because if they didn't do enough things, their people won't vote for them. That's a hard question to answer. I think a lot of these idiots that get into politics, they just toe the line. They're just, no, this is the thing. I gotta press for this issue, and they don't know what they're doing. They don't care. Like, do you honestly think like the Mendocinos and those guys, they actually care about Canadian people or whatever? They just want a slice of their pie. They just want their little slice, and they'll do whatever they gotta do. They'll lie. They'll say whatever they gotta say, and then they'll lie in the next election. They're just doing what the party wants. They're just going along with it. Now, when you hear stories about like Klaus Schwab saying we've infiltrated the cabinets and we're doing this thing,
we've penetrated the Canadian cabinet.
Yeah, right. Then you're like, okay, well, these guys are on autopilot. They don't care. All they care is that they get elected, they get to have their pension, they get to embezzle as much money as possible. They're doing that. I mean, like, honestly, do you think Nancy Pelosi is just like a whiz at the stock market? Right? Like, we all think that, right? Yeah. So, but this is the reality of the situation. It's corrupt. They embezzle, they cheat, they do all this stuff. Are they grandmaster schemers? I don't think so. Is there something behind what they're doing and pushing them in that direction? Maybe. And that's really scary if that's what's happening. And we need to really, really reassess if that's what's going on. And I want people to be lucid about this and not to just, okay, I believe the conspiracy theory that came my way. No, like, let's look into it and investigate it, and not just, conspiracy theories are almost a bad thing in the sense that it's almost as bad as telling a kid you can't get anywhere because of your race. You know what I mean? When you teach somebody that is the worst thing you can do to them. Is just destroy their libido to wanting to become something. Teach them that it doesn't matter how hard you try. It's outside factors, external things that will stop you from being able to do what you want to do in life. That will hurt people more than racism itself, right? So teach kids, absolutely teach kids. No. You work hard, you'll get somewhere. You try your best, you'll get somewhere. If there's hurdles in the way, you use that as an opportunity to teach yourself how to jump. You know what I mean? Like, this is what kids should be taught, not this like, sorry kid, no matter what you do, you're gonna get screwed over no matter what. I think this is what conspiracy theories do to a populace that wants their freedoms back. They think that it doesn't matter how hard I try, I can't overcome this global cabal that wants to take over things. No. We're winning. If you look at the world today, the world is changing. And why is it changing? It's because the information is getting out there and people don't want what they see coming down the pipe. They don't want that. And people are changing, and they're looking at the world in a different way, and they're waking up to it and going, I can make a difference. These conspiracy theories, they sow the seed of you not being able to take control of the situation. And I want to reel people back from that. I want to take people away from that concept. So yeah, I think there's rot in our politics, but I think if we work hard, we can actually get away from it. And yeah, there are global cabals that are trying to steer it, but they're not as powerful as you might think.
That's a breath of fresh air to hear that, and to hear your ideology behind why you do what you do. You're a breath of fresh air, what you're doing. Thanks, and yeah, your idea behind it, it's amazing. What do you think of the Bill C-11? Do you have any updates for us on Bill C-11 and what's been going on with that?
It's in the Senate. They're talking about it right now, and they're discussing whether they want to pass it. Maybe get on the horn with your local senator and tell them how you feel about it. Be polite, be nice. Send an email, give a phone call, leave a message. Be nice about it. Tell them that you don't stand for Bill C-11. You want to see a free market on the internet. And in fact, I think JJ McCullough, I rip on him all the time, but he brought up a really good point. If the legacy media think that the CRTC is too unfair, that they have to be under the CRTC and that the new media doesn't have to be. Maybe this is a good time to get rid of the CRTC restrictions on the legacy media instead of the other way around, putting restrictions on new media. We should lift regulation. We shouldn't be putting people on further regulation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what if this bill were to get passed? What do you think that does to guys like you and me?
It could ruin a lot of things. So what they want to do is they want to change how the algorithm looks at content. The government wants to be in control of who gets to be seen to Canadian citizens. Guys like us that have a generally Canadian audience will fall to the wayside in Canada. We'll probably grow in the US as Canadians. Like we'll be fine. But the CRTC won't allow us to be seen at the top of the feed. Now, if we want to be seen at the top of the feed, we have to apply for the grants or whatever the stuff and do all the regulatory things in order to become Canadian content. Like, who's less Canadian content here? I mean, who's more Canadian content than the two guys that talk about Canada all the time? But that's not how the regulation works. If you want to be deemed as Canadian content, you got to have a regulatory body come in. They'll look at all your equipment. They'll look like how much of it is Canadian, how much of everything is Canadian. And then they say whether or not you're Canadian. And then here's how it really works. This is all smoke and mirrors to just make sure that the legacy media gets on top of things. And it has been since the beginning. And this is how the Canadian media companies have pushed the American media companies out in order to bring you crappy programming that nobody wants to watch, right? This is really the way it is. Corner a market, right? So I think it was Murray Rothbard that said it. He said, and I might be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody in the chat, but as soon as a market is regulated, the first thing to be bought and sold are the regulators. And there's no exception to that rule. As soon as you come in with CRTC, it's the legacy media that are going to come in and they're going to buy those guys. And politicians don't write the rules. They don't write the legislation. It's the lobbyists. It's the media. It's whatever industry that they're trying to regulate comes in, and the biggest players are the ones that are instrumental in writing the rules for it. And why do they write the rules? To favor themselves. And that's always how it goes. Regulation always goes this way. So it's not going to be any different if Bill C-11 passes. The legacy media is going to come in and try to squash all of us that are killing them right now. Dude, half the time I get better ratings than CBC. And they put $1.4 billion into the media last year.
Yeah, I know.
It's insane.
That's why it comes down to that track, like you're saying, like we're winning.
We are winning.
Yes, 100%. I mean, you look at the viewership, you look at the ratings, you look at what's going on, and I mean, everything else just seems to be propaganda. It seems to be just over-exaggerated lies, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, Jagmeet Singh came right out. He went right against he went against that narrative, and he just straight up, because that was falling apart, and he said, oh, well, don't you see? Google, Facebook, all of these companies, because he always has to play the Bernie Sanders angle, right? The billionaires, millionaires, they take it over the world and they're going to take over all your feeds. And so he comes in and he's like, well, the billionaire companies are controlling what you get to see, and they want to make you angry, and they want to get you. No, they just want you on their website. That's what they want you there for. If you have a habit of getting angry, and that's what keeps you on a website, yeah, they're gonna show you more stuff that gets you angry. That's just the way you are. Like, it's you. That's you. You might want to see somebody about that. But like, that's just, like, if people want to see puppies, they'll see puppies all day long. If that's what the algorithm figures out that person likes. They just want you on the website. Got to figure that out. Now, Jagmeet Singh comes in and he says, we don't like what the companies are doing with the feed to try to keep people on the website. So what we want to do is leave it up to Canadians to decide what the feed looks like. Now, what Canadians are deciding what the feed looks like? The ones that are writing the regulation. So it's the government and the industry leaders. So it's the CBC, the CTV, Global. These guys are writing the regulation. This is what's happening. And of course they're going to game the system for themselves. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, like Jagmeet Singh, the guy who used to be, the party used to be for the people. You know, now conservatives
he's for the people. He's for a person. He's for himself.
Yeah. You know, and I mean, like, it's crazy to see. I mean, like, everything that he's been saying. And I mean, this coalition deal they have going on that seems to be falling apart. But, you know, I mean,
it's falling apart because Trudeau has no political clout anymore. The Liberals want rid of him. They just haven't come out and publicly said it. The NDP hate Jagmeet Singh. He's done. He's politically done.
Yeah. Do you think they're going to oust Trudeau as the leader?
The second they have the chance to do it politically, I think they will. Yeah. He doesn't want to step down though. He made a speech only a month ago saying, "I can't wait to run as the leader of this party."
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, he's got to find work elsewhere.
I'm doing the PB dance right now. I'm gonna have to jump for a second, so give me 1 second. I'll be back.
You go right ahead, brother. All right, let's get into the chat here. This is good. We're enjoying this. This is fun. Love having Clyde on. Lots of cool insight. Very knowledgeable feller. Really enjoy his presence here. Bill C11 will not. Timo Rich says BC11 will not touch Prime, Netflix, Disney, just like they keep big box stores open during pandemic. I agree. McJuggernauts. It's Clyde saying, yeah, McJuggernauts. Rage Against the Machine. Hi, Anonymous. Yeah, sorry, guys. I've been trying to keep up with the chat here, but like I said, I mean, over in Restream, I don't know why it's not popping up, and I don't want to start screwing things and wreck anything in the chat. But over here, I go over to my YouTube channel. I have it muted so it's not making a weird audio distortion. And I'm reading. I'm bouncing back. I'm checking out the chat, and yeah, you guys are dope. I love what you guys are saying. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
McJuggernuggets. I love seeing that. So
yeah,
I don't know how it graduated to that. So it was Juggers because apparently it's not jag meat. It's jug meat. It's pronounced that.
Yep.
So I just started calling him Juggers for a while, and then that turned. And then he made some comments about like it not being a Happy Meal or something. And I'm like, okay, it's Juggernuggets, you know, like Juggernuggets. And then it turned into that. And then we found out his actual real name is Jimmy Dollywall. And he only
Jimmy Dollywall?
Yeah, he changed his name to Jagmeet Singh because he changed over to Sikh, I guess. That's like a thing he did. But his given name is Jimmy Dollywall, and then the Sikh name is Jagmeet Singh. So it just changed to Jimmy McJuggernuggets. That's how nicknames happen, right? They evolve. They become their own thing.
Has anyone from the liberal media establishment ever called you out or reached out to you to talk to you? Have you ever been a public opinion piece on any of their their opinion pieces?
Okay, so not officially, right? So and you know what? I'll put the conservatives on blast too because they're so risk averse that I know that conservatives watch my stuff and are fans, and I know who they are and I know the stuff, but they won't subscribe, they won't follow me back on Twitter and stuff, right? So it's like because they want to hedge their bets in case I'm a crazy person, like, or say something really stupid like Jeremy, right? I'm not that guy, but whatever. Hedge your bets all you want. I got U.S. senators following me because of the stuff I say on social media. So like, maybe balls up a little bit, like Canadian politicians. I'd like to say that. So I had an ex-intern Green Party leader reach out to me. I don't know if you heard this story.
No, I know where this is going. Yes. Continue on.
So anyway, she had written an article about Pierre Pauliev being pulling a play out of the Donald Trump playbook, and this was in response to David Atkin. He was the reporter who shouted at Pierre Pauliev that on his first day on the job. He comes out and the guy just started heckling him, right? And it was horrible. It was rude. And so I covered it the next day and I talked about it and I made the jokes that he was trying to be like Jim Acosta, who was famous for shouting at Trump and speaking out of turn and grandstanding and being that guy, you know, and you got to be that guy trying to make himself famous. He's the reply guy, IRL, LARPing as Acosta, right? And
live action role playing, yeah.
yeah. So I made a joke about that, and I thought it was funny. But I was saying like this is rude. Like why would you do that? Like and yeah, fair enough. Pierre Pauliev, you take it from the position of he's the leader and he's got to be the leader guy, and you got some guy speaking out of turn. You got to say something. You can't just like let that happen. So he's like, "Oh, it looks like we got a liberal heckler." It was pretty tame. It was pretty tame, to be honest. Tame. But anyway, this woman writes an article for the Toronto Star and talks about David Atkin and how brave he was for speaking out, and then and how Pierre Pauliev turned it around at like Donald Trump style playbook, and then the next day wrote a piece for his subscribers on his email list saying, "Hey, donate to me. Look how much they're coming after me. Blah blah blah. Liberal hecklers." Right? It's funny. It's a good way to get a donation or whatever, get people to donate to your cause. Anyway, so she wrote about this, and then halfway down the article, she says, "And I heard a YouTuber, a conservative or a Pierre Pauliev supporter YouTuber, liken David Atkin to Jim Acosta." Saying something about being an American-style reporter shouting at the president, right? And then she went on to say, it would be funny if it wasn't so dangerous. And then she never explained why it was dangerous, what I was joking about. In the article, it just moved on, right? So she reached out to me, and she didn't know I read her article, right? She reached out to me, and she said... hey, I saw your channel. Clyde, do you have a last name? Do you have an address? Social insurance? No, she didn't go like that far, but she was like, hey, do you have a last name? More info on you, yada, yada. I'm writing a book about democracy and I'd like to mention you in my book. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Holy.
I'm a big fan of democracy. I'm a big fan of the parliamentary system, right? And I was like, I'd love to help you with your book. What would you like me to do? What would you need, right? And she, I threw out a dig. I said something about like she had another. I looked her up, but I couldn't find another author with her name other than a romance novel writer. That was funny. So she got back to me and she said. Oh yeah, well I worked in CBC for years, and then I tried my hand at politics. I was the interim leader of like a party, and then I went back and now I'm writing again, and I'm writing a book. And I'd like to refer to your channel in my book, and I thought we should talk. I said, "Oh, that's great. I love that you're writing this book, and I love that you would like to refer to my YouTube channel. By the way, in your article on this date, were you referring to my channel when you said this?" Right? And I just straight up called her out on the Jim Acosta thing. And I said, you said it would be funny if it wasn't so dangerous. You never elaborated in your article about what dangerous is about. Would you explain why that's so dangerous? Anyway, I would love to help you contribute with your book. Please get back to me and we'll get on that. I never heard back from her again. So I'm sure there's several like digging dirt on me. I mean, like, go ahead. There's no dirt to dig. I mean, You might find that one time I left a bit of oil on somebody's car seat.
Yeah. Didn't put the plastic down.
I didn't put the plastic down.
Damn.
So they might get me on that one. They might get
Google
me on that one.
reviews.
This is the problem for a lot of these journalists and stuff, is a lot of us that are coming out of the woodworks, we're just tradesmen or dudes, run-of-the-mill dudes.
Real grassroots, blue collar Canadians, you know, like the whole movement's kind of all about.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I mean, you could drag us through the mud, you could do that stuff, but like we've already been through the mud. I know what the mud looks like. I know what it looks like. And people are horrible, and I get it. I get it. I've had people be horrible to me. Be horrible.
Well, it's crazy how like they say, oh, like they've been going on for months now about how Pierre Pauliev engages in these American style Trump era politics and all this, and then you know all of a sudden you say David Atkin is like Jim Acosta, and all of a sudden now you're this, you know, you're this issue.
I'm the bad guy because I turned it around on them. I turned it around on them.
Only our narrative, buddy.
Yeah, that's dangerous. It's dangerous to go against our narrative. I mean, why is it dangerous to say that you... Oh, sensationalizing, trying to make the news. It's like Punchy McGregor, you know? What's his name? I forget his first name anymore. We just call him Punchy McGregor from Ottawa. He's a journalist for Global News. When Tamara Litch was being let out from the courtroom or from the courthouse, he come out and he was just getting all aggro with the crowd, trying to stir something up. And I did a video saying, like, look at Punchy McGregor here, trying to make the news, right? You're supposed to come there to report on the news, and here he is trying to make the news, trying to make a scene. And it went nowhere. It went nowhere because nobody actually went like fisticuffs with the guy, right? But I think that's what he was looking for. I honestly think that's what he was trying to do. I mean, that's my opinion. It may not have been what he was trying to do, just in case Punchy McGregor's watching this and you think I'm libeling or slandering you. Nope, that's not the case. I feel like that's what you were trying to do. I don't know that that's what you're trying to do.
Looking to create a nice little headline.
Well, so that's the thing, right? And there's incentive for that. Because the news that they're allowed to report on sucks. Nobody wants to pay attention to it. People want the truth, unfortunately for them, but like fortunately for guys like us, right? We get on the internet, we just talk about what's actually happening, and that's so much more sought after. Greg, that's it. Greg McGregor.
Well, look what happens when you like say for example like Rebel News, like when you get into that field where you have a large following, you're pumping out lots of content, you have a lot of journalists working for you, you have a pretty big Canadian channel and one of the only on that level, and now you're getting banned from coming to debates. Now you're getting sued by the Liberal government, and these things are getting taken down. Like, I mean, they get allowed by a judge into the English and French leader debate, and I mean, like, they come after you. They don't want you to have that opinion. They don't want you to have. It's so blatantly obvious that it's terrifying almost. I'm not scared. I'm not terrified, but it is terrifying that that's where the country's going, and that's where the chats are going around. You know,
This is why I encourage people to be independent about it. Like, and you know, Rebel does their thing, and you know, Rebel's gonna do their thing. That's great, but up and comers, as they get into the scene, remain independent as much as you can instead of joining with organizations, because they can always paint organizations as a bad thing. But if you remain independent, and we have thousands, it's like death by 1,000 bee stings. You know what I mean? Have a lot of independent people coming out as independents. As soon as you conglomerate, that's where they can nail you. And
that's true.
I think that's what's happening to Rebel. So like they could go after me, take me out, right? Whatever. That doesn't affect Viva Fry. That doesn't affect you. That doesn't affect a lot of people who are telling the truth. Stay independent.
Yeah, no,
I
I enjoy
really
what
believe in that.
Viva's done with his channel. I mean, during the convoy coming out and having a voice and having so many people watch him and being independent, in the truest form. It's been really interesting to see what he's done. And I mean, I haven't seen much attacking on his end. I mean, as an independent, like what you're saying, I think it makes sense to me that when you are an organization and you are as such as Rebel News, it makes sense that they're gonna, kind of come at you on that angle.
Yeah, they'll go after that. And then as soon as you get like one character in that whole bunch do a thing, then they can paint the whole organization based on that. So like, for example, they had Gavin McInnes and they went after him for what he did with his Proud Boys and all of that stuff. And I'm not giving an opinion on what he did there, but I'm just saying what they did was they went after him, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so because of that, they wanted to paint the Rebel News as that. So they'll have to live with that because he was part of that organization and stuff, right? There was the Goldie Hannah, or what was her name? Faith Goldie. So Faith Goldie had some controversy as well because she went down to some rally down in the U.S. where they had tiki torches and stuff, and then there was a big stink over that one, and that ended up being like a stain on Rebel News, and then Rebel News has to deal with that in perpetuity, right? So I think staying independent is a good way of going about things. Decentralization is the way to go, right? If you decentralize and you keep your thing going with you, and then you network with people, but you don't form organizations. Like, keep things independent. Keep you and keep them, right? That's the best way to go about it, because that's what we're fighting. We're fighting centralization. So decentralization is the tool we have, and it has so much more benefit to it.
Well, and it's really interesting. Like, look at the convoy. Look at everything that this really triggered, the landslide that it triggered. I mean, it really is grassroots. I mean, you look at the CBC headline, and then, one of the things the Liberals used to invoke the Emergency Act was the fact that this thing was foreign funded, and it was Putin, and it was Trump, and all this stuff. And it turns out that it wasn't.
False.
Then you look at it, it's like, dude, yeah, what did you expect? Like, look at this movement. Look at the people behind it standing up to put their channels in line. And you look at the natural progression of this movement, how well organized it was, where it's at, and where we are now. It's like we're so grassroots that it is the independency of everything right now is so, it's good. We're winning. I really truly feel like we are pushing that pendulum back and swinging slowly.
Yeah,
but it's going.
Well, and I think that the Freedom Convoy was a catalyst, and it was something that sparked a fire in people that they didn't know existed, and I remember that moment, right? So I remember I was at a bar, and it was the first time in months, and I hadn't seen my friends in a long time. We were just kind of, like, I was busy. Like, I never stopped working. There was no stoppage of working for me. I was busy the whole time. And I just remember working on cars, staring at bumper stickers that say, "I support the frontline workers," with like COVID rags all over the inside of the car. Like, yeah, you support
masks hanging
workers,
from
right?
the mirrors.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know what hypocrisy looks like. I know it. I see it every single day. Like, you think we don't see when you behave like that, people? We see it, and we.
Do they know they're behaving like that though?
No, I think they're oblivious, because, when they're dealing with people like tradesmen and stuff, we're not part of their world. We're not part of their world, so they just think that we're other. You know what I mean? And that's the othering of people, and I think that's horrible. But I honestly think that people are just like, oh, the masses, you know what I mean? Like, they don't consider people. It's weird. It's a weird thing. But they'll mask up for the person at the grocery store, but they'll throw that mask on and rub it all over the steering wheel and shifter before they give it to the mechanic. It's just it's a thing people do. But like I had no shortage of work during the whole pandemic, and it's just whatever, right? And and we're not cheap people. We're not like as mechanics. We're not like low class people by any means. Anyway, we went to, it was like getting closer to the end, and masks were like kind of, ooh, we could get away with not wearing them. We went to a bar with some friends, and it was my buddy's birthday. It was like last minute notice. Come to the bar, we're all meeting up. Okay, sweet. So I bust my ass over there. I get to the bar, and we're all hanging out with no masks. We're hanging out, and everyone's just kind of quiet about it at first, and I'm like, this COVID stuff's BS, right? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, sweet. We're all good. We're all on the same page, right? And then we start talking louder about it, and then all of a sudden we see video of trucks on the screens on the TV where there's normally like sports and stuff going on. And they're like, and the waitress comes over. Do you hear about these trucks? They're going out to Ottawa. I was like, I heard something on the news about them protesting about like road conditions or something. They're like, no, that's BS. No, check this out. They're going to Ottawa, and they had videos from YouTube blasted on all these screens in the bar. And the next thing I know, the whole bar's talking about it. And they're like, yeah, dude, this is like the biggest thing ever. Like, everybody's done with it. There's a whole shift now. Like, nobody's cool.
Dude,
nobody's cool with it.
No, nobody's cool with it. And they were talking about how, like, like you say, it was a catalyst. It united people, it gave them something to back and get behind and finally have a voice. And as much as sometimes I condemn people for not speaking up during the whole thing, I was speaking up. I was being like, this is all bullshit. But then, like, people didn't want to.
I was speaking with my friends going, this is dumb. Like, I don't get it. Nah, I
was kind of out there. But, a lot of people, like, your job's at risk, or your group, your friend group, your family, whatever. But when that happened, it really showed us how much this government was lying to us, how much they were manipulating things and suppressing things and controlling things to tell us that these things weren't actually happening. But then once it happened, it felt like these things were all very real, and a lot of us share the same opinions, because a lot of people who turned on me messaged me and said, dude, I appreciate what you're doing in Ottawa. I appreciate all this stuff, and I agree with you. And I'm like, I thought you were like my sworn enemy. And it got really good. Really, after that, it got really good.
Yeah, it was insane. It was insane. And then there was a big shift. And so, like, okay, so I'm a tradesman, and none of us bought it. Like, there was like one guy at the shop that bought the narrative or whatever. And I think it's just, whatever his deal is. But like, I remember when we're all talking about the shots and stuff, he's like, I asked my boss about it. He's like, what do you think about it? He's like, I don't know. I got a bad case of the 5G last week. I don't know. How you feeling? This is like how we talked about it. It was just a joke. The whole thing was a joke. Like, whatever. Get it. Don't get it. Who cares, right? Survive it. We all got to just survive, right? This life, right? And so we did all the things that all the Karens wanted us to do. We put up the plexiglass. We put up the rope so you can't come in, and we did all the things. And we wiped the things so they smelled nice. And when you smell detergent, you're like, that's clean. There's no germs. Whatever. We did the thing. People are happy about it. Just go along with it. Do the thing. Right? So we did the thing, but then the thing got too long, and then we're not doing the thing anymore, right? I'm done with the thing. The thing's over. And when the convoy took off, I was like, finally, my people have arisen.
My homies, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
These are my people. People in trucks. People in like Sam in his crummy. Rocking up with his service truck, and he's just like, I'm out. I'm going. We're doing it full steam ahead.
And his Dunlop boots, winter rated.
Right? And I'm like, yeah, these are my people. And I have no excuse but to go full bore in with them, right? And I'm like, well, I'm in BC. Like, I don't have a truck. I don't have any of this stuff. But yeah, I can make videos, and that's where I did it. I remember watching AVE's video, and he had a CNC machine, and he took a toonie and he cut the image of a truck into a toonie with a CNC machine, and it was a big send off. It was like, "Have at her, boys, do us proud," you know. And I had a tear in my eye watching that, and I'm like, okay, I'm devoting myself to this. This is what's happening.
Well, the inspiration, like that same feeling that you had, I had a very similar feeling when I decided to pack my bags and I realized that this thing was coming through Alberta and it was going to be big and it was finally going to be the movement that we've been waiting for. And I talked for years it was time to take action kind of thing. But I drive across Alberta and I was just behind the convoy. I didn't know where I was. I knew they had passed me, and I made that decision that morning. I went to the gym at 6 a.m. I knew the convoy was leaving the Calgary Flying J at about 9 or 8:30 or something. So I was done at the gym about 8, and then I'm like sitting there, I'm thinking, I'm like talking to the old lady. I'm like, I'm gonna pack my bags. I'm gonna go. I can do the drone shots. I can really show this thing the way. I don't know if anybody's gonna be showing this thing the way that it needs to be shown, from the air, on the ground, the people in the ditches, whatever happens. And then I decide to go, and I get on the road, and I get outside of Medicine Hat, and I'm like, dude, where's this convoy? Like, is it actually big? Is it all bullshit? And then I start driving through Medicine Hat, and I'm seeing people in the ditches with these huge flags, and I start seeing boom trucks. Guys taking the afternoon off work to pair boom trucks up and hang F Trudeau flags and Canadian flags and stuff. And I start
That must have been something else, man.
Dude, yeah, I start tearing up, and I see this, and I see people with like flags that say like arrest them all and you head to Ottawa and all this stuff. And it starts blowing my mind and bringing a tear to my eyes. I'm like, this is insane. Like, this is like something in the 80s trucking convoy movies. Like, this is unlike anything in Canadian history. I know this is going to be something. And then I go to bed in Brandon, Manitoba. I met up with the convoy, started to see the power of it. Then that morning in Brandon, Manitoba is when I seen it. I seen the Hutterite colonies across Manitoba engaging in this thing. I seen like because I'm from Manitoba. So I seen all the colonies that I knew growing up coming from south regions, north regions, from all over the place to get on Trans-Canada, bring their skid steers up, their boom trucks, you name it. They spent those last couple of days, as they found out about the convoy, creating signs, bringing the kids out, bringing meals. Like, they prepped, and they came out, and literally from Brandon, Manitoba, all the way to Kenora, Ontario, it was Hutterites, and just people on the sides of the highways, every mile road,
That's
every
awesome.
grid road. Dude,
even the Hutterites are out. I love that.
I kept crying. I was like, this is like unlike anything that I've ever seen or ever will see again. And I knew at that moment I was on the right path and that something special was happening and we were pushing things the other way. So when they started talking about
you can't take that from people's memories, man. That's one thing that people will never forget. So like, so we saw what happened in Ottawa, and we saw what the media tried to do to smear it, you know, and it was the typical Gandhi thing, right? First they ignore you, then they ridicule you, and then they fight you, or then they ridicule you, then they fight you, then you win, right? So we're still on the fight part, right? Because ever since the Emergencies Act, we've still been on the fight.
100%.
But they did all those things first, right? They belittled us. They said there was no following. They ignored us. They said there was nothing. And then they laughed at us. They ridiculed us. And then they had to fight.
They called us racists. They called us misogynistic. They called us everything in the book. They totally projected. And it was very obvious.
I remember the first day I was watching the live streams and the cameras moved. Every time the truck would move in, the camera would move to look where there was no trucks.
Oh yeah, there's like 20 or 50 trucks here tops. I'm like, no. There's not. That's when I realized the propaganda. I always knew it was propaganda. I knew CBC was subsidized. I knew all that stuff. But when I was in the streets and I started live streaming that Saturday, January 27th, I think it was, or 29th, I started live streaming. I started making these videos in Ottawa. That was when I realized how bad the propaganda was, how bad these networks were, and how leaning towards one opinion they were. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. This is absolute propaganda in its finest form.
Yeah,
you know, and they're working it overtime now. They're doing it. They're lying because, like I said, we waited.
It's good.
I waited that Monday. I'm like, dude, Trudeau's off on the weekend, but Monday he's coming out. He's gonna have to. What's he gonna say? So that Monday morning, which would have been February 1st, I believe, or January 31st.
I don't feel so good.
Yeah, no. Well, Trudeau comes out. Yeah, no. Yeah, in the cower to the cottage. He comes out, and I'm sitting there in my hotel room. I'm sitting there at the Delta, and I'm like this in front of my computer. I'm like, what's he gonna say? He's either going to understand the people. He's going to see the people in the ditches the whole way. He's going to see all the flags, the signs, and the support behind this thing.
It was huge.
And he's going to acknowledge the humanity behind it. Or I imagine he's going to go towards this divisive rhetoric and cancel culture. Sure enough, he comes out and he walks out all quiet in front of the cottage. Nice winter day. Goes like this with his papers. He sets them down. I'm like, oh, this is really drawn out. And then he starts talking. We all heard the garbage that spewed out of his mouth. And it was like, here we go. This is a propaganda state. He's a tyrannical ruler. I can't get behind anything he's saying. He's gone, and this is his downfall. It really is. This is embarrassing.
Yeah.
We lived through it all. We've seen it. We can't unsee it now. And I think it's beautiful.
Well, that's it. It can't be unseen. And the thing is, like, there are still people that are still like kind of following the narrative and whatever. But at the end of the day, we're waking more people up every day. We just keep at it. And this is why I don't stop. I don't stop because I know as soon as I let up, like, the way the algorithms work and stuff. If I let up, less people will watch the next time I come back to it, right? So I can't stop. I can't stop because I got to keep the message going. Because I know that in the next round of things, I want to be as relevant as possible, as absolutely relevant as possible, so I can get right on top of it. And things are happening. Things are happening, and they're not stopping. And every time they think that they're in control of a situation, they just really aren't. And the best part about it is I'm no master planner. And nobody's a master planner. But people have come up with clever ways of circumventing what they want and what they want their plans to do and their plans to go with. This is the best part about grassroots movements that are completely just spontaneous. There's no predicting where it's gonna go. I mean, and like I said, they could take me out. They could take anyone out. It's still moving forward. And this is a momentum. This isn't it's like in physics, right? You learn about inertia. There's that full steam moving ahead. Like they could try the best they can to stop any given source of the energy moving forward, but they're not gonna stop the whole thing moving forward. It's happening.
Well, as Christine Anderson said in the EU Parliament, it was, I think, she had mentioned how, every movement that creates change and stands up to tyranny starts with a small minority, and they're trying to label us as this fringe minority, this extremist movement, and how our voices don't matter. But it's like, if you look at anything in history, which history is a great teacher, by the way, and history tells us that every time there's been change, it's been because of a small movement that decided to stand up and it gained inertia.
Yeah. And anyone that comes at you, because I've had it a bunch of times, like no big movement in history has ever done this non-violently. That's absolutely false. Now, like, yeah, so the Boston Tea Party was a thing. It was an act of defiance, and it led to the war, the War of Independence in the United States. And great things came from that. Don't get me wrong. But that was a brutal war. It was a war. Absolutely, violence was on the table. But Gandhi freed India of British occupation without ever raising a fist. Like these things.
I think we're intelligent enough now, and we're well versed to pull this off without violence.
Well, and the thing is, people don't understand this concept, and here I can articulate it, is that the state, a government, is the monopoly on violence. Like this is the social contract, right? The state has violence as a tool that it's allowed to use. This is not contested in any way. They want you to be violent, because as soon as you do that, then they can just jump in and say, great, that's our tool and we're good at it. We're actually better at it than anybody else. So this is where you got to be clever, and you got to have your head about you. You got to have your wits, because you can't lose your cool. And that's a difficult thing to do, especially when you're under stressful situations. But I mean, if the truckers have done anything, they showed everybody that you can keep your cool even in the worst of situations. So let that be an example of where we can go with this, because you don't want to use the one thing that the state has a monopoly of, and that's violence. Stay away from that. Absolutely.
Well, and that's why when people said, like, with the convoy, like, oh, it's a shame that it ended in such a way, we should have used violence and all this stuff. And my personal opinion on that is, you know, like, what we did was so good, and it pushes the pendulum this way, and it's making the government work in our favor, and a lot of really good things are coming out of it, and we're seeing the change because of it, or it's the catalyst of it. But imagine the Emergencies Act, what it was invoked over. Now imagine if it got violent. Imagine if things actually went really south and we decided to go down that route, which we wouldn't have, because we're grassroots Canadians, and this movement proved what we are and where we stand in our democracy. But imagine we went down that route, what they would have done. You see the Emergencies Act over barbecues and bouncy castles.
Well, you would have lost the support of the public, like just decent people. Like people aren't violent people. Like, this is not the way individuals are. So you would have lost the support of them first and foremost, and then they would have been able to use violence back against you, and then people would have saw that as justified. So violence isn't the answer, and this is why. This is why you don't use violence. The state has a monopoly on violence. So why would you use the tool that they're better at? Just don't do it.
Yeah, and why were they trying to incite it the whole time and say that we were violent extremists? Obviously,
because they knew they could take control of the situation as soon as there's violence on the table. That's the end of it.
Yeah, they're making things up, and they're bringing headlines up about the war monument, the Terry Fox monument, and the arson in front of that one building that actually had nothing to do with us. And they're saying, "Oh, this arson chained the doors shut in this apartment building," and all this stuff. It's like you're bringing these headlines and panic people and make them think we are some violent extremist movement.
People still believe that stuff, by the way. People still believe that stuff. Yeah, even though it's been absolutely debunked. James Lucas in the chat says, "And do it in the winter." That it's a really good point there. Yes. So
great.
And this gets to a point that Jordan Peterson recently made in one of his podcasts, and it really, really resonated with me. And he said he used to have protests, like pretty violent ones too. Like they used to get violent, and he would get worried, you know, not only for his safety but safeties of others, when he would go to university campuses to do his speeches and whatnot. So he figured out a way to avoid those altogether and not have protests when he would speak at university campuses. And it's a really, really simple method, and nobody really thought of it. But he holds them at 8 a.m. That's all it takes.
Yeah, people aren't nearly as edgy in the morning. They're more peaceful.
No, but that says a lot about what they think, right? It says a lot about where their convictions are. They're so convicted with their ideology until it gets in the way of them going out to the bar and hanging out and having a good time, right?
True.
So they won't go to bed early and wake up to protest Jordan Peterson because they're not that devoted. You know, I mean, I'm devoted to the cause, but I'm not that devoted, you know, kind of thing. But when a bunch of truckers show up in the middle of winter, there's no counter protest. Who the hell's showing up in -20?
Yeah, only real grassroots fighters.
Absolutely. So like big, huge up. I mean, if they were to show up in the middle of summer, it might have been a different story altogether. But like January, February, geez, that's like the coldest time.
I went out there with I tried to be as minimalist as I could with what I brought out with me, and it was too cold, so I had to go and I had to shop. I had to buy warmer clothes, And I mean, I remember nights where I'm walking on live stream, like, I'm like, guys, I got to shut this down. Like, this is cold. Like, my phone's freezing up. Like, it's crazy.
People who were live streaming, they had those like hand heaters, like those little crack, like and shake 'em hand heaters, stuck to their phones just to keep the battery from freezing up, so they can keep live streaming. It's insane.
And I had none of that. I had none of that, but I will give it to the iPhone. I think it's the iPhone. Yeah, the iPhone 12. Definitely does a lot better in cold weather than my old iPhone 8 used to do. So, you know, and I always had it plugged into a power pack while I was walking on live streaming and stuff. So, yeah, man, it
Fair
was
enough.
so cool. It was so cool. I'll never get over how cool it was, and how much it meant to me, and how much it shaped me as a human in a lot of ways. I mean, I already had my core beliefs and my values, but after this, I realized how much more I love people, how much more I have faith in Canada, how much more pride I have, things like that. And yeah, I'll never forget
it made me much prouder to be a Canadian. That's for sure. So
Same.
like I'm a dual citizen. I'm American, Canadian, and I've always lived in Canada, except for the time that I lived in Japan. But I've always felt for the longest time that Canadians just don't stick up for what they believe in. And I was just like, I would get frustrated with it. Like, dude, like the system's taking advantage of people. We're moving in the wrong direction. And people complain about stuff, but they never really make a fuss about it. And they just never stand up for it. And I was getting really frustrated with the way people behave. And then when I saw this happen, I was like, here we go. This is what I've been waiting for, like forever, is people to just go nah, like a big old nah, and this is how it's gonna go. We're moving in a different direction, and it was the start of something. And yeah, a lot of people there's been some pushback from some real crazy individuals, and you know we saw a recent upset in Quebec by them voting in Legault one more time. But it's really sad that it takes, you know, a politician to promise $2,600
to bribe. Yes.
Yeah. So we'll see what Elections Canada says about that, because I really think that was that shouldn't be something that's allowed to just
no, especially when the economy is so bad, and especially when it's almost very deliberate, and then you're gaining votership after his laws through the pandemic and the way he regulated Quebec and stuff, and then all of a sudden you crush everybody, you suppress them, and I like, here's this subsidy, vote me in. What?
Well, it makes me want to vote. It makes me want to vote in my local election here in town and say, "Hey, vote for me. I'll give everybody in town a check for $2,000."
Yeah, why do you have to bribe people? Why do you have to do that if you're such a good candidate? Like,
not only why do you have to bribe people, is it legal to bribe people?
Yes.
With tax dollars.
Yeah.
Is that legal? Because I don't think it ought to be. I don't think it ought to be legal. And yeah, I think that should be hauled in front of Elections Canada, because somehow they got away with it. And not only that, because of the equalization payments, Quebec is not going to pay a dime for that money. So they're pulling that money out of Alberta and Saskatchewan for the most part.
Really?
Yeah.
God
so
damn.
Legault is like, I promise you money from Alberta if you vote for me. It's terrible, and like, no, you should be disqualified from an election for making a statement like that.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's actually almost traitorous. It's almost, you know, like, it's like, how the hell do you justify that? Crazy talk, man.
Well, I know how he justified it, but how do you square that with the rest of Canada, honestly?
Yeah, true. Yeah. Well, this thing's running out pretty long. We're 3 hours and 20 minutes in. So
wow, it's been good. It's been good.
We
got pretty deep into some of the wobbly pops. I got a little emotional. I showed a side of me that I don't normally show. So congratulations, you brought it on your show.
I enjoyed it. I've been waiting to do this for a long time with you, and we'll do another one.
Absolutely.
In the future, it'd be great. But yeah, no, we all appreciate your insight into things. We appreciate your daily videos, how hard you're working. It's noticed, it's seen, it is very appreciated. We thank you
I
for it.
appreciate everybody that wants to watch it. You know what I mean? Like I'm stoked because like as you can tell over the past 3 hours, I'm pretty passionate about these things. Like this is what really fuels me and what keeps me going. Um, I appreciate all the support, and I think it's growing because this movement's growing. I think it's growing because people are still passionate about it. And yeah, there's a bit of a lull right now. There's not that many people that are super engaged when it comes to politics at the very moment, but people are pretty enthusiastic about seeing things go into a different direction at the moment. And
I think people are
and,
more
and I'm looking forward
enthusiastic
to
than
it.
they have been.
Oh, absolutely. I just mean like right now. So in the past week, so we see dips and lulls when it comes to like news and broadcasting and all that stuff. So a couple of weeks ago, Pierre Pauliev he got elected as the new leader. That was huge. So that became the next big news story. So there was like a huge boom in subscriptions and viewership. And then now it's kind of on the lull. We'll see where it goes. But the next big thing to get people's attention is just around the corner. But I'll still be here as always every day talking about what matters to me the most and what's going on here in Canada and also other stories around the world. I don't cover a lot of like big popular things. Like there's a lot of things that like I could try to touch on to get a bigger audience, but I really just care. I just really want to talk about the things that I care about, and I think it shows in when people branch away from the things that they care about for the purposes of content. You know what I mean? So I try not to do that. I try to just talk about the things I care about.
Canada is a country worth saving, and
Absolutely, yeah.
that's our focus. Yeah, cool. Well, thanks for coming on, Clyde. Appreciate it. Love
Absolutely.
having you on, and I can't wait to do this again. This is a really good one. 3 hours and 20 minutes from what I can see there. So, but yeah,
Well, I
I'm
hope they
gonna kick.
liked it. I hope everyone liked it.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. I certainly enjoyed it. But I'm gonna kick you off now, and I'm gonna head over to the chat, answer some questions, do some things. And I'm gonna go to bed because it's 10:30 here in Alberta.
Yeah. Good night,
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
Enjoy your
Thanks
evening.
for coming on, man.
Cheers.
Enjoy your night. See ya. All right. Where are we at here? We got to do some chats here. If you got any questions, ask them now. I'm out of beer. Had a long chat here with Clyde. Really enjoyed it. It's 10:23 here in Alberta, so I got to get going to bed. Really appreciate everyone coming out tonight. Really, really enjoyed it, like I said. And yeah, that's where we're at. 12:30 here. Chris Freestone. Where are you at? Where it's 12:30? I guess I'd be in Ontario. You're in Ontario? Love the yellow car. I love the yellow car too. I actually this yellow car here. This is my 2002 Pontiac Trans Am WS6 383 stroker built 6-speed full suspension circle track race car. And it is now at the point where it's giving me an O2 sensor issue on the heating circuit, and it is running very lean and enriching itself on the right bank. So I'm trying to figure that out the last 2 days. I want to drive it before our winter comes, because right now the fall is we're in like our peak fall where it's very yellow, orange, green. The greens are fading out, become more yellows. Leaves are falling off the tree. And I want to get a photo shoot with this car and a video shoot before all the leaves are gone. But it's giving me this issue, and it's giving me a hell of a time doing it. But yeah, I might go live. I'm in the hammer. The hammer? What's the hammer? I want to thank everybody for the what do you call them? Super chats? Yes, super chats. I got two of them tonight from Unacceptable Fringe for $5. The first one was I have COVID-19. No, the first one's gone. It's not here in the chat anymore. The second one is I have COVID-19. I really must go for I'm infectious, you see, and I spend a week under quarantine. Thanks for the 2 donations tonight, Unacceptable Fringe. Appreciate it. If you enjoy what I'm doing here on the channel, consider subscribing to the channel if you aren't already. Smash that like button or put your head through it. And leave a comment in the comment section below or in the live chat here. And yeah, I mean, if you want to support me financially, I have a Patreon where you can donate $1 a month, and I do exclusive content on there, shout outs, burnouts, things like that. I upload it to YouTube, but I also do like, personalize, like, hey, here's this person's name and their message. Here's my response. Smoke the goddamn tires. But yeah, thanks for coming out, folks. My garage is heated. I got an electric heater in here. I wired it in last fall or last summer. It's this big bad boy up here. The garage actually used to have a 15 amp circuit running to it when I bought the place, and that was not sufficient. So I gutted the ground, drilled a hole through my house, drilled a hole through the floor of the shop, and I ran a tech wire out here, which is a big thick boy, a 60 amp or 80 amp, I think it's 60 amp service. And now I have a big electric heater. I have my welder functional, and I can put a gigantic compressor in the back when I choose to do so. $10 from Anonymous. Thank you so much, Anonymous. Unacceptable chat. Fringe minority stuff. Alberta is awesome. Love it here. Where's Rob from? He loves Alberta. He loves it here. But where is Rob from? Where are you from? Are you from North Alberta, South Alberta, Central Alberta? I'm in Southern Alberta. I'm in Foothills County. I am where the grass greens grower on the other side of the fence, as far as I can tell. I do love it down here. It's very beautiful. We have mountains, we have cowboys, we have the flats, we have wheat, we have canola, we have, well, not as much canola, but there's canola up north. We have a lot of cows, very happy cows, grass-fed Alberta beef, natural, some of the best on the planet as far as I'm concerned. Now, I haven't traveled many places, but I can tell you Alberta beef is premium. Crying Hippie says, Tanner, everyone their price. I'm serious. Imagine having all the land on either side of you and put a racetrack out there for cars, trucks, and bikes. That is one of my dreams as far as a car content creator, YouTuber goes. I watch Cletus McFarland. I see what he does in the States, how he's able to make the deal with Holly and his other supporters to have a track, the Freedom Factory, where everyone can come and race. That is my dream. I love people. I love supporting their dreams and goals. I love realizing my dreams and goals. And I feel like if it ever happens, if I ever go down that route, if I ever gain a large following and I can financially afford it, I will definitely build a friggin' sweet racetrack for everybody to race at, because that's what Canada needs. That's what Alberta needs. I think Alberta really needs a community, a real car community, because right now there is a car community. It's semi-toxic. There's a lot of bullshit. There's a lot of talk, a lot of this, right? I feel like Alberta needs a really good communal area where people can come and race and hang out and just be a part of something bigger than just a bunch of shit talk. So, yeah. And I feel like we don't have enough racetracks in Alberta or in Canada in general. Like, there's a lot of street racing. They're like, oh, it's so dangerous. Everyone's going to die. It's like, dude, then build some friggin' racetracks. And if I ever get to that point with YouTube where I can financially make it happen, I will definitely make it happen, because that I want to be a Canadian Cletus McFarland if I could. That would be amazing. I would definitely go down that avenue. But we also have winters. We must remember that. So, I mean, like a summer thing, maybe a small drag strip. Give me an airport. If anyone has an airport they want to donate to me, I'll take it. I'll turn it into the coolest drag strip, beer shotgunning, tire roast, and shit show you've ever seen this side of the Canadian Rockies. There is a huge demand in my area. Crying Hippie. People are out here. They love cars. I can't believe the car community Alberta has. It actually blows my mind, but yeah. My dad had a heated garage in Ely, Minnesota. I've never been to Minnesota. I've been close. I've been to North Dakota. Never been down there. Good old Smash Derby. Those are good. Yeah, those are good. We had them in Manitoba. I lived in Manitoba for the better part of a decade, and we had demolition derbies. And, I seen a lot of my friends wreck a lot of really good cars, a lot of really nice cars. Like, you're talking like old, I don't know, like some people might not think these are cool cars, but like old Dodge, or Plymouth Furies, like cool old Plymouth Furies destroyed, old Monacos, like really cool Monacos. Like, I like them, big old 440 cars. Back in the day, when the early 70s, late 60s, when things had 440s in them, people would take those as like, oh, this is the best demolition car, let's destroy it. And then the whole thing would get scrapped alongside with the engine. It's like, we could have used that in something else. you know, but you destroyed it. And so I'm kind of on the line of whether or not smash derbies are good or bad. They're good, but they're bad because you destroy a lot of cool cars. But people don't have value for those cars in that time. And it's funny because a lot of those cars do not create or have value until later on down the line. So like you smash up an 82 Fox body Mustang. Well, this thing's a piece of shit. This is going to be really funny. And then 30 years or 20 years, maybe even 10 years later, you're like, that was actually a pretty cool car. And now they're all gone because motherfuckers destroyed them. Oh my God. Becky Johnson says, I hear you have grass in Alberta. We have some of the nicest grass, not as nice as British Columbia, where I was born and raised. I was born and raised in the Fraser Valley in Mission, British Columbia. We had a lot of rain, essentially a rainforest, not as rainforesty as the island, but Mission, British Columbia was definitely very rainy for most parts of the year. And we had very green grass down in that region. In Alberta, we have very green grass for 2 months. Not like BC where it's green most of the year. Oh, as long as I've been silent, I must keep talking to keep the vibe up. Michael G from Oklahoma. Been following since well before First Miles Mayhem. Love the content. All through freedom. Love Bounce Through the Castles and Craze. That's hilarious. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for supporting me continuously. I've seen your name many times in comment sections, in live streams, and I thank you, Michael, for your support. Freedom before the Freedom Convoy was Miles Mayhem 1, and the 4-part video series that I did. 5-part. Well, it would have been 5-part if I made the 5 days, and my drag car did not participate in the first day because it was having issues, which I figured out last minute. Got there, the organizers, Dustin Watts and Josie. God bless their souls. They allowed me to participate for the last 4 days and just not be able to legitimately compete in said event. Not competitively, but I was able to actually run the car. I was able to run the car and I enjoyed that. So I made that 4-part video series and I had a lot of fun doing that. I did a 5-part video series this year on the Miles Mayhem, and next year I might change things up. I may not do a 5-part video series. I might actually just go more with one solid video, because honestly, doing a 5-part video series is like a lot of time, a lot of commitment. It takes me a couple weeks to process all the footage, the drone shots. It's a lot, but yeah, I might change it up next year and do one big production and then just do live streams daily and focus more on the live streams. But yeah, that's where I'm at with Miles of Mayhem anyways. Tabor corn. Buddy Ice had some Tabor corn the other day and it blew my goddamn mind. That Tabor corn is like, it's the cocaine version of corn in Alberta. I don't know if I should have said that word in this live stream, if I'm going to get demonetized or not, but that's where I'm at with that. Oh, let's see here. Crying hippie, replacing a 20-foot section of track, smashing up crap. It's a lot of maintenance. That's why I'm saying, like, if I ever went the Cletus McFarland route and I want to become a Canadian YouTuber that had a racetrack and it created a community for all to thrive in, I would have to be a large YouTuber and I would have to have financial backing through many sponsors to be able to pull it off. As Cletus McFarland has done, he's got Holly behind him and I think 4 or 5 other big or maybe even more. He's got a lot of sponsors that are helping him make that track happen. And yeah, it would definitely be worth it if I had the base and I could do it. But I don't know where I want to go. I'm just kind of like, I'm vlogs, I'm travel, I'm cars, but also I'm planning on traveling to South America. And we want to live in South America for, you know, the better part of our 30s. I built a van to do it. I'm also swapping the van so it's more efficient and powerful, so I can pull a trailer behind it and have a race car with me. But I want to go travel and I want to live in the van. I want to rent my place out and I want to just go live on the road. So maybe I become a traveling content channel, and then eventually, as I get older and I want to retire, I become a full-blown car content channel. Who knows? I hope someday that I can make it big and I can fund doing something on that level. I think that'd be so cool. I love my DJI drone, Rage Against the Machine. I love my DJI drone too. I rock the Mavic Air 2S, and I feel no need to upgrade, which you won't with the Mavic Air 2S. I mean, it's the balance of all like DJI Pro 1, 2. It's like it's better than anything that was put out before it. And now they got the 3, which has some features, but it's just like kind of GoPros. You wait like 4 generations till you upgrade to make it worth it. And right now where I'm at with my drone, I'm like, dude, these new drones, mine, like I had a Air 1, and now first I had the Solo, which was a GoPro mounted drone. Then I had a DJI Mavic Air 1, and now the Air 2S it flies more like a plane combined with a quadcopter. So dude, the shots I get with it, the 5K resolution, I'm just in heaven when I fly this thing. Had my first crash with it recently. I crashed this drone on the power lines over here, which I've never hit a power line, which is why you really got to be careful when you're flying these things. Crashed it, broke the body, got a new body for $80, and I'm good to go. But yeah, I love my DJI drone as well. I do. Peace, Boy, Ian. I know it's you, Ian. I know you're there. Peace out, homies. Passing out here. I'll rent your place, Tanner. Let me know. Hey, Ian. Are you in Alberta right now? Are you in Calgary? Because I'm having a craving to rent a PK stereo system, or the one that I rented at my last party, and I want to fucking slap some bass before winter flies here. I really want to get in front of a good stereo system. I want to slap some bass. I want to hear some Dom Dalla, and I want to just trip balls and have a good time. So you let me know where you're at. You're in Calgary. Well, I actually met up with Buddy the other day, and we were chatting, and I heard you were in Calgary. So the rumors are true. We should hang out. We should slap some bass. We should definitely slap some bass. Hit me up on Facebook Messenger and or text message. I think you have my cell number. I can't remember. Either way, you know how to get a hold of me. We have Kyle Sanford. Live looks pretty good. Thanks, Kyle. Where are you living these days, Kyle? Are you still up in Didsbury area, or are you back out in Nova Scotia with your pa? I think your pa moved out there. I think old Greg moved out there. Some of you may remember Greg from my previous videos on the Dino Sessions up in Didsbury, Alberta. Preparing for Miles of Mayhem, my first video last summer, where Greg Sanford let me use his dyno and drink in his shop excessively and create very absurd content. Really enjoyed that. Thank you, Greg, for that. Oh, Elizabeth G. Thanks, Tanner. Great to see you again. Great to see you, Elizabeth G. Seen you in the comments before. Looking forward to the next convoy, depending on food prices. LOL. God bless Canada and the Canadian people. If there is another convoy, if there is another movement that creates such a vibe, I will be there. Let's go. Ellie 88. I'll say again, I live across the field from you. We rent a place. I asked before. Across the field from me. Are you over here? You in town? You out of town? It's got to be Cowtown. Where are you at, Ellie? Where are you at? You live across the field from me. That could mean many things. You could live over that way, which is fairly south. There's a couple of houses over yonder. There's a house way down there, about 1 kilometer. There's a house down there, about 5 kilometers. Then there's a house over there, about 2 kilometers. And then, maybe you live across the field. You live on the other side of the goddamn town. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section below here in the live stream. Boy, Ian is down to slap the fucking bass. Plot twist, you got to split the stereo costs with me because I can't afford to do this shit anymore. But we got to do it. You know what I'm saying? Still in Didsbury, not leaving, working on the pipelines. Kyle Stanford's on the pipelines. Good for you, buddy. Happy to hear it. Maybe you can upgrade that Cobalt into a Sunfire GT with a turbo system. Where are we at here? Keep up in the comments here. Anonymous says he's with the old blue nose. Don't know what that means, but I appreciate it. Elizabeth G. Clyde, I watch your videos every day. Love your vids. Night, y'all. Thanks, Elizabeth G. I watch Clyde's videos daily as well. I find him very informative, very dedicated, very purist, I don't know if Clyde's still listening, but I will tell you that I friggin' appreciate Clyde more than my ex-boyfriend. Oh, LOL, quitting waving your arms, Imperial Doctor, Dark Side, Imperial Dark Side for the dark. I work for Dark Sidious. That's how it goes. Boy, let's go. Hit me up. Let's go. Let's do one more banger. One more just absolute rage. Get into the tranquilizers. All right. I am going to bed. It is 10:40 p.m. here local time in Alberta. Clyde Do Something. I'm still listening and spoken for. Everyone has to realize I'm not actually gay. I just like to say gay stuff. It's pretty funny. Maybe not to some people. But yes, this guy right here, enjoyed having him in tonight. I've had some really good live streams since I started live streaming about 6 months ago, and Clyde is up there with the greats. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was an absolute blast. We thank Clyde for his absolute commitment to being a friggin' legend and standing up for our rights and freedoms and standing up for a movement that is clearly gaining momentum the other way. And if you deny that, I would think you're crazy. I would think you must be nuts if you deny that, because we are moving in the other direction quite efficiently. Maybe not as fast as we would like, but we're going there. Anyhow, that's where I'm going to end this. I have crushed a 6-pack. I am enjoying myself. I have this pre-rolled cigarette that I've rolled myself to smoke before I go to bed. Don't smoke. It's bad for you. I'm just doing it because I'm drinking. Got to get to the gym tomorrow morning. Got to be healthy. Got to try not to hack my lungs out. Now, thanks for coming out. Thanks for supporting everything. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being beauties. Thanks for supporting me. I don't say it enough, but I really appreciate that y'all support me and you come out here, and I don't say it enough, but I really do. I do really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you very much. And we'll catch you guys on the next live stream here on Tire Roasters Garage. Catch you later, Clyde. Catch you later, fam. See you in the next.